that was right or wrong to put Kwanzaa over Trent?
I think that is the wrong question.
Well, okay, what should I ask you to get your opinion?
Because we need to know the tactical side of Tuchel first, and it looks like from outside in that he wants out and out. Hold on, he wants out and out defenders there. He wants them four to defend.
Talk Sport.
1 minute past one. Good afternoon. Here are your sports headlines. talkSPORT understands Jed Spence will start at right back tomorrow against DR Congo as Jarell Kwanzaa and Reece James continue to battle injuries. Ollie Watkins has been speaking to talkSPORT and says he has sympathy for England fans, finding the game so far quite a tough watch.
When teams are always low block and you see sometimes it takes 70, 80 minutes to break teams down and then once you do, the goals start flowing because they come out. But I know it's frustrating to watch, and as a supporter, I think just be patient.
Well, after Gabriel Martinelli's last gasp winner last night for Brazil, they're still on a potential quarter-final collision course with England. But Brazil expert Tim Vickery says it will require something very special from Tuchel's men.
You're taking on either Mexico or Ecuador at altitude.
That's the one.
That ain't good. And then you're taking on Brazil, and then you're probably taking on Argentina. To win those three games in the Americas, that for me would be the highlight all time of the England national team.
Tonight, it's the turn of favourites France and their all-star cast of world-class attacking wizards. Emanuel Petit knows what it takes to win the biggest prize and says this squad has the talent and the mettle to go the distance.
Having the best side, on paper is one thing. So showing that you are the best side on the pitch is something different. But I think we have the personality and the character to show it on the pitch.
France versus Sweden at 10 p.m. follows Ivory Coast versus Norway. That's live on talkSPORT at 6. And at Wimbledon, British number 2, Katie Bolter has joined the long list of Brits to crash out in round 1. She lost in straight sets to 18-year-old Tyra Grant. However, one Brit has now gone through to the second round. British number 6, Katie Swan, has beaten Romania's Irina Camelia Begu 6-4, 6-4 to be the first home player through to the second round.
talkSPORT News.
A £15 billion defence boost has been announced, paid for by shelving roads and energy projects, and the Health Secretary is refusing to say when a maternity commissioner for England will be in place. Emma has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. The season's changing, so get your car's shim pads and studs checked for summer with a free vehicle safety check. Book in centre or at quickfit.com today.
There's some rain across northern and western areas. Showers increasing, some thunder in the north this afternoon as well. Maybe some patchy rain across southeast England. Elsewhere, cloudy with bright spells.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is how to win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Good afternoon, UK, and good morning from New York. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. So Paraguay stunned Germany on penalties. Is it now impossible for Nagelsmann to survive? Are we heading for a Jurgen Klopp coronation? Meanwhile, would Iran be right to blame the authorities for their World Cup failure? Also today, are Brazil the most unfancied World Cup contenders? Is it wrong to question boxing promoters over careful matchmaking? Will Elliot Anderson skew the transfer market? And is Steve Clarke trying to rewrite the narrative with hindsight? It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. Here we go again, folks. Tuesday morning, June the 30th. We're almost into the month of July, and we are live in New York City. Another nice day on the horizon here in this part of the world. Hope it's good for you all back in the UK. And Mr. Martin Keown is alongside Simon and myself yet again. Martin, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
You and I enjoyed a little Mexican meal last night in the financial district. All good this morning, tummy-wise?
Very good. Central Park yesterday.
Yeah.
18,000 steps. Beautiful, wasn't it? Lovely day out. Extreme temperatures here.
Yes.
I think it's much warmer than it is back in the UK right now. But, yeah, there's a real buzz here. This place never sleeps.
This place never sleeps. Were you sleeping last night? Is that why you
No.
gave the Mexican meal a bye?
No, Mexican's not for me.
No.
For high-performing athletes like myself, I see his 18,000 steps and doing 25 yesterday.
We thought in our 6 years together, we thought it was just our first social evening with Simon Jordan, but he never turned up.
I know.
Do you know I've been out every night since before you got here? I've been out with the team every single night, and this is the one night I've missed.
Oh, I wonder why.
What do you think of that, Keown?
Yeah. Well, you were the one was he the one that suggested the Mexican?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, that was the talk last night.
It wasn't absolutely not.
We can't order yet. It'll be here.
And then the fella came over eventually and said, "Look, do you want to order? Is he coming?"
Iba.
Arriba. Anyway, everything has been good, even though I saw Martin sprinting down the corridor here in the World Trade Centre to find the gents. But all is good.
That was when the bill came.
That's when the bill came. Every single game this week, live across the talkSPORT network, of course, including England, DR Congo tomorrow from Atlanta. We will get to that. In the meantime, we are sticking to this. Two big nations went out yesterday. The Netherlands late last night and Germany before them in penalty shootout defeats. The first big, if you like, World Cup shot came as Paraguay stunned Germany. Out they go. The Germans are heading home. Paraguay march on. And I wonder how this fella is feeling this morning. Top German football broadcaster Konstantin Eckner joins us live. Konstantin, hi to you. You were there in Boston and you saw them go out. You saw them go out. What was your reaction at the end of it all?
Well, I should have probably asked producer Luke how many cuss words I am allowed to use on the air. So to describe my mood yesterday, I mean, of course, there was a mix between being stunned by actually seeing Germany being eliminated by Paraguay. I mean, all due respect to Paraguay, they play a tough style of football, and it was known that they would be tough to beat, but still, I mean, you would expect them to be beaten by that Germany side. With all the problems that Germany might have right now as a national team, at least, but still. So being stunned, but then also being a bit angry about things that haven't really gotten the correct way in the past couple of weeks, or maybe in the past couple of years, because we now see a pattern. It's 3 World Cups in a row that Germany actually didn't win a knockout game. I mean, they at least made it to the knockout stage, but it didn't win a game.
You're absolutely right. We'll get to that because certainly the Germans somehow have got to turn it all around going forward. Are the Germans right to point to VAR? In extra time, they went 2-1 up. Jonathan Tah's goal was ruled out. VAR judged that Valdemar Anton had fouled the goalkeeper, Orlando Gill, during a corner in the build-up. Nagelsmann, he's outspoken today, as you know, Konstantin. I'm seeing it again right now. It's not just a scandal, it's an absolute scandal. That is not even remotely a foul play. They're not happy. Were you not happy, Konstantin?
So, of course, it was, in a sense, a ridiculous decision to disallow that goal. Let's just look back at that last club season, right? In the Premier League, for instance, I mean, Arsenal scored a bunch of goals blocking the goalkeeper. They made a habit out of it, and it was usually allowed, and other teams did the same. It's not just Arsenal, right? But their winning strategy in some games was just having those set pieces and corner kicks. So Valdemar Anton lightly touched the goalkeeper, and he fell down. Great acting job, by the way, in my opinion. And then it was disallowed by the Moroccan referee Yayet. So, I mean, of course, it was a wrong decision, but let's be honest. It was a goal. It would have been a goal in the 102nd minute, so it would have been an overtime. you need to beat Paraguay beforehand. Germany scored that equalizer in the 54th minute thanks to Wirtz and Havertz. You still have over half an hour to go to then score the winner, and they didn't do it. So now pointing to that goal is a bit too easy, in my opinion, and maybe Nagelsmann wants to deflect from his own failures.
That's pretty fair of you, fronting that up. Martin Keown, Arsenal Invincibles, alongside Simon. Jurgen Klopp, Martin, if the goal is illegal, then Arsenal won't be English champions. They've scored 60% of their goals that way. We win the game when the ball goes in. So, of course, this is brutal. Has he been a bit naughty?
I love the way you kind of shoehorned Arsenal into all of this. Yeah.
Well, Klopp did.
It's one of those where I think it was harsh. It was harsh. I was watching it live, and I couldn't quite fathom out what on earth was the problem. I think he did play on it. He definitely played on it, the goalkeeper. Bringing Arsenal into it's got nothing to do with it. The VAR has been pretty decent in this tournament, but as soon as it comes to a knockout stage, then there's a casualty. I don't think they get it right. I think Germany were desperately unlucky. But I do take the point that they had really good opportunities after they scored. Yeah. And they should have put the game away. I'd say, Constantine, one of the players I was really disappointed with was Sane. I don't think he's a player who's really touched on the performances we saw at Man City. Maybe Pep was right to let him go all these years, but he didn't seem to be... He's lacking in pace. He relied upon his passing. When you expect him to explode past people... Was he a massive disappointment to you in this competition?
Yes and no. If things would have gone right for Germany, he wouldn't be on the pitch because Serge Gnabry is the first-string right winger. He got injured a couple of months ago, so he was not an option for the tournament. Then Lennart Karl, just coming up, right? Being the young teenager at Bayern Munich, he actually looked like he got a starting spot on the right side in Germany's lineup. So Sane was only the third option for that right wing because he's not at Bayern Munich anymore. He's not at Manchester City, of course, anymore. He now plays for Galatasaray in Turkey. All due respect to them. It's still a great team, but Leroy Sane is 30 years old and not at the height of his career anymore. So he looked like I expected him to.
And did the manager make the right call? Should it have been Musiala who started or Undav? Because everyone was calling out for Undav to play. Even Jurgen Klopp, possible new manager who takes over from Nagelsmann if he goes, was asking for that, embarrassingly so.
Also, yes and no. I think, you can start Undav, of course, but what he did was actually starting with two strikers, Havertz and Undav, right? And what Nagelsmann said beforehand was, we need to combat Paraguay's toughness. We need to have presence inside the box. So he used two strikers. I think a lot of Germans actually wanted to have Havertz maybe on the right side, Leroy Sané out, and Undav in the middle, but not dropping your number 10 and then bringing in another striker so you don't have any link-up plays on the edge of the box. Yeah. And then Undav touched the ball, I think, 10 times until he was subbed off in the 63rd minute.
Constantine's right, Simon. I think the Germans should have had this one before this disallowed goal.
The Germans had it coming. I spoke yesterday about the German side, and he was optimistic for their outcomes going forward in this tournament. They clubbed Bambi in the first game. They were lucky to get past the Ivory Coast and got away with one there. They got beat by an Ecuadorian side, and now they didn't have to play for anything, but they still got beat. So they got what they deserved. I mean, this is, with all due respect to the fact that they're a powerful nation and we look at the German team in hindsight, or more to the point, with rear-view memory of what they once were, they're nowhere near it. So Nagelsmann's got to take a lot of responsibility. Yes, it's an appalling decision. Yeah. But as Constantine said, this side, Paraguay, when we watch Paraguay get their backsides kicked by USA, we turned around and said, this is a poor side. This is a poor Paraguayan side. They've gone into the knockouts, and they've knocked the Germans out, and if the only thing you could point to is an isolated instance, and a goal I know is difficult to come by, but when you're a German side playing against the Paraguayans, this should have been out of sight, job done.
This is an example of a coach, again, not finding the solutions to break down a low block.
Through the whole tournament.
They're now truly a diminished football nation, are they not? They are diminished. I mean, when you look at it, Constantine, since winning the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, Germany's record in major tournaments is extremely poor. This is a diminished footballing nation, is it not?
In a sense, yes. They reached the semi-finals in 2016 at the Euros, and after that, what happened? I mean, the best result was reaching the quarterfinals 2 years ago. But that's it, right? 2 group stage exits, 1 round of 16 exit against England at the Euro 2020. It's not enough, let's be honest. I mean, especially for a football nation that actually is still crazy about football. I mean, the stadiums in Germany are packed. They are sold out. First division, second division, even the third division. I mean, they pack stadiums full in the third division, right? Yeah. Professional football. So it's popular as ever, but it don't produce enough talent. There are a few outstanding players. I still believe Florian Wirtz might be ending up one of the best attacking midfielders in Europe, as one instance, right? But there are a few, but they're not enough. The talent pool is not as deep as people might actually suspect Germany to have right now.
Okay, is Klopp the man to turn it around?
I mean, he is here in the United States right now. He is working as a television pundit. It always looked like he was the shadow minister of this Germany team, right? I mean, he's there to take the job in a few months. It's not as easy, of course, for the German FA to actually sack Julian Nagelsmann because he earns a lot of money and his contract runs another 2 years, so they still have to pay him. And it's not as easy, actually, for these associations sometimes to sack managers compared to clubs who can just pay these guys and pay another manager. And Jurgen Klopp probably demands also a huge salary. So, but I think it's the way to go. Nagelsmann has to go. Jurgen Klopp has to come in. 59 years old, right? He doesn't want to coach a club team anymore. He might be made to now, in his final chapter of his career, coach Germany, bring them back, just how he rescued Borussia Dortmund after they were on the verge of bankruptcy, and just how he revitalized Liverpool when he came in. Now, final chapter, just revitalize Germany, please.
Konstantin, thank you very much for being with us. Konstantin Eckner, German football broadcaster, suggesting it's Klopp's time now. We shall see if that materialises in the fullness of time. A lot to get through here in New York this morning. Another lovely day on the horizon, and we're live on talkSPORT. Stay with us from New York this Tuesday morning. Simon has been saying what he means and means what he says, as always. And such was the case just a few days ago when we got onto the topic of, Erling Haaland.
Who would you rather play for your nation out of the two of them? Mbappe or Haaland? Who would you get?
Well, given I think that Haaland's a rude, unpleasant little toad, I would go down the route of Mbappe.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Because of the one occasion in Spain when he's playing paddle tennis, Stuart, and he's sitting there with Alpha Inge Haaland, and he thought, and Erling comes over and says to Simon, "You must stop taking my photograph." He wasn't. I mean, you get your beef up. You were saying, "I'm not trying to photograph you." He thought your phone was out and you were trying to have a picture of him.
With the risk of name dropping, I was playing paddle on a court next to that little twit.
So you were taking his picture?
No, I weren't, mate.
Simon, I love that. So I'm playing paddle tennis.
But it's true.
Well, after that, news got through to Erling Haaland out here in the US, and he has responded on Instagram with a laughing face emoji saying, "Don't know what that little twit toad means, but I'll take that from him." There you go. Your reputation goes before you. Erling's on it.
Well, clearly he recognises the errors of his ways. I'll accept that as an apology.
You actually were not on that day trying to photograph Erling as he's in mid-paddle tennis.
No. If anyone knows, for what this is worth, anything about me, the last thing I want is to take pictures of footballers.
To be honest, Haaland himself has made news out here, but he tells us himself that he can walk around New York City completely unnoticed. That is part of this place, Martin. I'm not so sure that it would be the same for Beckham walking down there, down in these streets in New York. But for Erling, it's an unusual set of circumstances, and he appears to be loving it over here.
Yeah, a freedom. You know, he can walk the streets. You know, and of course he's here to make his mark.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Hi everybody, you're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown. We are live on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes. First stop, Toolstation. If you're watching live on YouTube, the Statue of Liberty, looking wonderful. I was in a little boat going around that yesterday, and it was quite uplifting, I have to say, quite an experience. Beautiful weather here in New York, and today is no...
Should have dropped you off at Rikers Island, if you want my opinion.
Yes, thank you very much indeed for that. I was looking over my shoulder to see if you were in the same boat, and I thought, I'm getting in if he's behind me. Here's the thing. You heard from Konstantin Eckner saying off the back of the Germans heading to the airport and heading back to Germany today, Jurgen Klopp, is he the man? Are we heading for a Jurgen Klopp coronation? Will Nagelsmann head out and will Klopp come in? Simon, what's your take on that? I know you're a fan of Klopp's, aren't you?
I am, yes.
Can you see him in that guy's next? Because they've got to turn it around, the Germans.
Well, look, you can put Jurgen Klopp into most environments and he will inspire. He's proven it to be the case. I mean, obviously, there's this argument about what he did at Mainz, where it dropped off the cliff on the second season, and a little bit the same with Dortmund, because he plays at such intensity. And we saw Liverpool win the league, and the following season, they didn't defend it particularly well. But I'd have Jurgen Klopp all day and every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Now, whether he translates from being a domestic powerhouse of a manager that has influence over his players 42 weeks a year to having opportunities to communicate his thinking in very small moments of time, like little TED Talks once every 6 or 7 weeks, I don't know, but I would put money on that he would be a better I mean, I'm not a fan of Nagelsmann's. I don't think he was the second coming. I think he was fortunate to have got the Bayern Munich job. I think he got himself out of that job by a variety of non-football related things, and then ended up in the national team and not really carried much water there. So go back to Klopp. If Klopp is the answer, I mean, we are looking at European football, and Constantine was talking about the enormity of European football, the success of the domestic leagues. But look at the players that are making up the sides. Look at the contribution from the European players, and you see, yes, of course, there's a lot of European players in there, but there's also a lot of African players, South American players that are adding the quality to these leagues, that are making these teams stand out in these divisions, and sort of hiding behind the idea that European football is doing quite well.
Right, exactly. Is it too soon for Klopp, Martin, to be international boss?
Not at all. I think it would be perfect for him. Jim, if ever there was a manager that went into Liverpool and picked up and understood the Liverpool people, the way he did, the beat they played to, the rhythm. The club is still trying to get back to that. That's why they've just changed their manager, because, OK, for one season it worked. When they made a few changes, they sort of slowed it down a little bit. But the foundation was created by Jurgen Klopp. I think it would be perfect for him, and fascinating as well, to see if he can get the German public in the same manner, get them behind their team, because obviously they're 4 times winners, Jim. They're 8 times finalists. Yeah. And this is embarrassing now that they've gone out so many times.
I mean, Klopp is also, you don't know where he is psychologically. You don't know where he is, because sometimes when you turn the engines off or you turn the boiler off, you can't get the pilot light back on again. And so once upon a time, this firebrand of a man that could engage people and motivate them and focus and get this extra from players.
You think he's lost his fire?
Well, I don't know. I'm not saying he has or he hasn't. I don't know where he is. I don't know where he is in his life.
Yeah, but this would
I see him running away from interviews that he doesn't want to talk talk about on subject matters that a couple of years ago he would have picked up upon. I saw him the other day, and I know it was a thorny subject about what's about
diplomatic, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but he hasn't been diplomatic before. He's run straight into the fire. He's had observations about
He
COVID.
understands now the stature he has.
So he's
the
changed.
upset he can cause.
So he's changed.
But he can quickly switch back to his real.
I think in life that sometimes people can get burnt out. It's surprising that he wanted to leave Liverpool, and that indicated an element of burnout. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm not saying he can't or he can or he can't, and unless you see the man operating at a level again, you don't know whether he goes back to that level. I would say Martin's probably right. He probably does.
Yeah.
But there is a possibility he might not be able to, and he might not want to.
To be honest, Simon, if this was England, there'd be uproar. The German media are furious. When you look at it, since winning the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, Germany's record major tournaments, I'll fly through it. Euro 2016 semi-final stage, World Cup 2018 group stage, exit. 2020 Euros, round of 16, World Cup 2022, group stage, exit. Euro 2024 quarterfinals, World Cup here in the USA, round of 32, exit.
It's when you've got two huge powerhouses in European football a little bit sick at this moment in time, the Italians and the Germans.
Yeah.
Maybe the Germans need to get an English manager managing their team. Just a thought.
Yeah, where's Constantine for that one? That's a decent question, is it not? And on the same day here in the USA that Germany went out, the Netherlands late last night followed suit. 1-1 with Morocco after extra time. The game went to penalties. 5 of 10 penalties were missed as Morocco eventually won the shootout 3-2. I thought this might be the Netherlands' time. I've got to be honest, Martin.
You know what? These two teams, high caliber. You know, a quality team like Holland going out as they were, and either team could have won that in the 90 minutes. I thought it was a fantastic advert for football. I think Morocco, in the end, deserved the win. The only team, Jim, I thought were really trying to win the game when they went behind and the game completely changed. So I think they deserved it. I deserved it. But to have to win in a penalty shootout in the manner they did, the amount of penalty misses just shows you what it means for those players when they represent their country, standing up to take those penalties.
So it should, by the way.
Top quality players missing from the penalty spot. It's obviously a very difficult situation to be in.
Martin, on that, if you as a defender, and I know how you played, if you had been called upon last night, would you put money on yourself to put it away?
Do you know, I think there's a lot more preparation, a lot more training, and it's kind of like you pick your spot.
Yeah.
I don't like this stuttering business. I think you get up there and you pick where you're going to put it and put it in with power. If I were to miss and I had tried to be too clever, you'd never forgive yourself. Go up there and be direct. And do you know the amount of players hitting posts?
Yeah.
Hakimi hitting the post. Big moments, Jim.
Right.
It's like the hand of pressure grabs them round the throat and they can't cope. And it was like really interesting to see how that works. So maybe it comes down to a penalty shootout, two games now.
Tragedy for Ronald Koeman, because he's such a pleasant fellow. And obviously, I go back to poor old Graham Taylor in that circumstance where Ronald Koeman should never have been on the field. And then here we are, life has an unkind way of paying people back in calmer terms. But the Dutch can look at themselves and think...
You've got some memory on.
I do, I think about these things. I'm like an elephant, I hold on to these things.
That's right.
But I...
you are like an elephant.
If I'd have gone to the Mexican last night, I probably would have felt like an elephant on the back of the meal we had on Sunday. Look, I mean, the Dutch can count themselves moderately unlucky because they're a good side. They played well in this tournament at times. And you look at some of the players on the field and you expect certain things from them. But another one bites the dust.
But to see them not going after their philosophy of football is to go for it and attack.
Right.
I was really strange watching.
I wonder how deep Morocco will go. They're dangerous to everybody. Morocco now face Canada, Jesse Marsh's Canada in the last 16. Then it could be the French in the quarterfinals. Wow. That is then, this is now. And right now it's 1:30 with you back home in the UK. We're just up here, 8:30 in the morning in beautiful New York.
Mario, just how good is this Netherlands side? Because on paper, you look at some of the players in the squad, the likes of Van Dijk, De Jong, Gravenberch. You've got players, experienced players playing at top clubs. But yet again, they've gone out of another major tournament. Are the Netherlands team that strong? Or did you expect this, or this was going to come?
The thing is, like, this is a good question from you. Why? Because we also have to make our team strong. Like, if you're going to play, if you change the system, you know, like, look, if you play a whole new system with a team and with the individuals that are not used to playing like that, it's always going to be a change for them. Okay, then you play three at the back, you know, three in the middle of the park and then two wing backs. Okay, Dumfries, easy for him. But for Van der Ven, it's different because he's a centre half, plays at Spurs in the centre of the defensive line, and then he plays on the left hand side. He's not a wing back. He's not going to dribble. He's got the speed, but his speed is something that comes later. It's not like a starting. Then you play in the middle of the pitch. You play two players. They are very good when they have the ball. But now I can ask you a question. What happens with those two players when we don't have the ball? And that's exactly how the Moroccans hurt us.
Mario, my question is simple. What's next for Netherlands?
For the Netherlands, what is next? You know, like Koeman, I don't know, like, because of the personal situation and his family situation, I don't want to go deep into it, but I think he might make a decision and say, like, hey, this might come to my time. I did it twice, and so we have to wait for his decision. He will make it and tell us. Away from that, I don't see, look, now I think the Holland team, you have to focus on, like, you miss some penalties. Some other guys are going to, you know, feel hurt. They got to pick them back up and get the guy.
It's one of the most infamous moments in World Cup history. Zidane's headbutt on Marco Materazzi in the 2006 final sent shockwaves through the footballing world. It wasn't a particularly ill-tempered final. Argentinian ref Horacio Elizondo had only shown 3 yellow cards until this point in extra time. Zidane and Materazzi had been the main protagonists of the match so far. Materazzi committed the foul for the penalty, which Zidane scored after 7 minutes. Then 12 minutes later, Materazzi equalised from a corner. Materazzi said in the 2020 interview he was asked at half-time to man-mark Zidane. So they'd been literally rubbing each other up the wrong way for more than an hour before the tension boiled over in extra time. Some reports suggested Materazzi had insulted Zidane's mother, but he successfully refuted that in a libel case 2 years later. According to the Italian, Zidane started it with a little insult, saying, "I'll give you my shirt later." Then he responded by saying, "I'd rather have your sister than your shirt." And Zidane switched. In 2022, he said, "I'm not at all proud of what I did, but it's part of my past." But would he apologise? To his teammates and fans, yes. But to Materazzi? I'd rather die.
Non, je ne regrette rien.
Good morning from New York. Another great day in store for us here today. It's going to get up to about 32 degrees in this part of the world today. We're looking forward to another hot one here in New York. Oh, I tell you what, look at that, right on cue with Simon, Martin and myself. Now, These fellas are amongst the bravest in New York. The window cleaners behind us here. If you're watching live on YouTube, let me describe the scene. As everybody now knows, we are 50 floors up here at the World Trade Center. And what we know, we've done a bit of research. We know a bit more about these fellas. The bravest workers in New York City. Angel and Milton clean the windows outside here in New York, the World Trade Center. Look at that. They never look down once. They just go about their business on a regular basis. They've been here for 10 years doing this. Incredible. And they're joining in. Now, how about that? Transfer window cleaners. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on talkSPORT, Angel and Milton have joined in. They are as much aware of us as we are of them, clearly, and they're aware that we are broadcasting.
Free from Simon, is it?
Free Martin Keown. There's another one. Simon Jordan for PM.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys. They are 50 floors up. Yeah. I mean, the drop down there is unbelievable. Angel, who I was in conversation with just a few days ago, was telling me, what about this job you've got? How on earth do you do it? There they go. There they go, guys. How about that, folks? Angel was telling me, do I worry about what I do? Cleaning the windows of the World Trade Center, 50 floors up. And he looked at me and he said, I was more afraid of being broke than scared of heights. Oh, gosh. What about that? Yeah. He says, it's a job I do, and I just do it on a daily basis.
State of mind, isn't it?
I've got some mouths to feed at home. He's got a couple of kids, and he says, I was more afraid of being broke than scared of heights. How amazing is that?
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
There's no way I can do it.
I can hardly go near the window.
I'm the same. I'm the same.
Stand out there.
I'm the same.
You know, it's
exactly
it's ridiculous. But fair
Love that. I want to thank these guys, Angel and Milton, and Bill in here at the World Trade Center for making that happen. We did not expect them to become such a part of today's show, but I'm absolutely thrilled.
I don't want to hear any of the producers moaning about their job again when you see what those guys do out there. That is
it is breathtaking, isn't it?
Yeah, but they do have to put up with you, Martin, so let's have it right.
Well done to the guys. Just bear in mind, they're 700 feet up, cleaning the windows out here.
About it.
No.
Unbelievable. What a moment that was. What a moment it was in Brooklyn on Saturday night. Simon and I were there, and Boots Ennis beat Xander Zayas in spectacular fashion. But also, as we know, Simon, Ben Whittaker was part of the undercard, and he was magnificent. An impressive second-round win against Richard Rivera at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Now, the win improved Whittaker's record to 12 wins and a draw from his 13 professional fights. Rivera suffered the third defeat of his 30-fight career. So, after the fight, Eddie Hearn, to say the least of it, who promotes Whittaker, was left somewhat frustrated when a boxing reporter here rounded on him and suggested, right, what is next for Whittaker? Is it going to be a decent opponent this time? This was Eddie.
You do this every time you come to the press conferences, right? You try and ask challenging questions, but they're questions, right?
Facts. Well, I'm just going to follow up. So Boots' next fight, he took a significant step up, and this next fight.
Significant step up. He just beat a unified world champion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pass the microphone, man.
In comparison to his next fight's coming up in October.
Who? He's had 13 fights.
Yeah, so
Boots has had 37
so
fights.
I'm asking for his next fight. Would you?
It'll be you, man. I want to fight you.
Like for him to take a dramatic. Well, no, let me just finish the question.
No, because what you say don't matter.
I'm just asking.
Would you? I want to know. Would you? It's got nothing to do with you. It's got to do with me, him, Andy Lee, Will, and the team. Shut up.
Well.
I'm telling you, the next fight will be another step up. Like tonight was a step up, and what you do is you keep stepping up and you keep producing the performances and you keep going through the levels.
Will it be a dramatic step up? Or
it will be a step up, and it will be the step up that him, me, and the team think is appropriate for the timing of his career, and it will have absolutely nothing to do with you.
What a back and forth that was with Eddie and one of New York's finest here. Simon, having said that, are the media here right is it about time that Ben Whittaker is seen to go in with someone maybe not off the back of what you might describe as careful promotion? Careful matchmaking.
Well, you've got to get a bit of both in there, haven't you? I mean, they are the ones that make so much noise. I mean, if he wanted to travel incognito, Ben Whittaker, then people wouldn't be paying attention to him and criticising or scrutinising what he does and doesn't do. He's the one that runs around with the noise. So does his promoter. They talked about the narrative how he was badly match-made previously under Ben Shalom, and they were going to accelerate that opportunity. And they put him in against a fighter that hasn't fought in 18 months and expects no criticism. Now, people aren't cheerleaders. I don't mind Eddie being robust. I also don't think the journalist has asked anything particularly wrong. It's not their job. It's not journalists' jobs to be cheerleaders. It's to be able to ask questions, stack up their questions without trying to get gotcha moments, and ask reasonable questions and get people to answer them. And Eddie didn't want to answer it. Ben is 29 years of age. He's not 21. He's at a stage in his career where he probably does need to step up against far better opposition. Questions still reverberate. The first time he got it stuck on him properly, we saw a reaction from him against Liam Cameron in the first fight where he got it stuck upon him, and we saw what he did in that particular fight, which some people would suggest swallowed it. Yeah. So we need to have that question answered against better opposition. And whilst I'm a huge advocate for Whittaker, I think he's a star in the making. I love all the showboating. I'm not against all that. The idea that you can just sanitise what people ask you and allow a narrative to be played out in front of you when you've got a 29-year-old silver medalist that threw his medal away because he didn't think it was good enough for him, fighting against people that are also Rans, that you can hark back to the fact that he had a decent loss against a 50-year-old Baddo Jack 4 or 5 years ago and not expect to be scrutinised is nonsense. Now, Eddie will go, oh, it's Simon having a go at me. It's not. I'm not having a go at him. I think Whittaker is a star in the making, but I want to see him in against better opposition.
Yeah. I mean, these are questions, though, that boxing journalists do put to promoters on a semi-regular basis. There have been questions about Moses Atoma. When is he going to fight someone who will really put him to the test? So the questions aren't really out of order when you think of it.
But Moses is now, isn't he? He's fighting Filip Hrgović. And to some people's mindset...
He'll beat him, will he not?
Filip Hrgović is an elite fighter. This is an extremely dangerous job for Moses Atoma because Filip Hrgović is in the top 5 in most of the weight classes, most of the sanctioning belts in his weight class, and he's an elite fighter to some extent. So it's a proper test. Ben Whittaker fighting against the opponents that he's fought against are reasonable waypoints to show Ben and to showcase Ben. Yeah. It's not an unreasonable question to ask him, when are we stepping up now the levels? Are we going to see you in...
Do you think Eddie Hearn is overreacted? Look, if I'm not in the boxing game...
He makes it about himself.
If Ben Whittaker wants to suddenly fight the reporter because...
No, he's joking.
I know he is. But isn't it... You know, you're not seeing a football manager react in that way. He's pretty well the same... He should be managing that situation
but he's a promoter, and that was all about Eddie. It wasn't really about Ben. He's not. He's playing to a particular gallery, creating an outcome, changing the narrative and bullying the journalist. Yeah. I mean, what Eddie does is he bullies people. He comes in here and he doesn't like it. He comes in here and he says things to people like me, and he says things that aren't true, and he gets held to account, and he tries to redirect it about people's blonde hair and whatever they might have looked at like 25 years ago because he can't deal with the subject matter. And to be fair to the journalist, he tried to hold the line. But Eddie is a very strong character. He's sitting on top of £1 billion business. He's got all the weight of that success behind him. So he's strong in that respect.
But just to be clear, the question was fair, wasn't it? More than fair. I mean, in elite end sport, and I'll put this to both of you, is there ever a right time to throw young prospects into the deep end?
He's not young. He's 29 years of age.
Right.
He's 29.
So in terms of his pro career, though, he is
13 fights. Vasily Lomachenko, who was an elite fighter, was a world title holder. So you can pick and choose which narrative
he's ready now, isn't he? But there's been question marks over him. I've watched him a lot as well.
Right.
The showboating thing, it's all part, isn't it, of the act. It's what he needs to do for his confidence.
So was the general right, Simon? It's time for Whittaker to be majorly tested.
Yeah. But only on the basis, to some extent, of course he's right, on some extent, it's because they run around telling everyone how wonderful they are. And so when, Ben Whittaker will have you believe he's the second coming. Yeah. And he's a shoo-in to win a world title in the light heavies. We'll see about that.
But that's the art of promotion.
Yes.
Both he and Eddie do it well.
What Eddie should be doing is waiting out the elite fighters, which is what Saul Alvarez did with Gennady Golovkin. Wait them out so that better Bivol's not there. He should be in with someone like Buatsi, someone like Yard, and then we'll see how he's got it.
I hope he does do it, by the way, Ben Whittaker.
Yeah, but they've also got...
They've also got a cash cow in Ben.
and they've got to manage his career properly, so they monetize him properly, monetize themselves properly, and at the right time arrive in the right space.
Sure. I've just got to tell you, the reaction to our World Trade Center window cleaners, Angel and Milton, was huge. Thank you so much to everybody who's got in touch. You absolutely loved that back home, as did we here in the studio at the World Trade Center. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Key on talkSPORT in the studio, not dangling about outside it. And we're live in partnership with Tool Station. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 minutes. First stop, Tool Station.
Ronaldo is top, still top. But Haaland, for instance, is a better finisher.
Let me ask you this. In world football, I said this, Bentley, on yesterday's show, and I got a little bit of criticism. In his pomp, right? I'll ask you both. I'll start with Bentley.
I heard it.
I said R9 is a better finisher than Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, do you know,
he's a better striker, number 9.
No, do you know what you said, right? And you said he was a better goal scorer.
Okay.
Right? Now, for me, R9 is a better centre forward. Like, so I don't think it's even close, right? But what people will do is look at the numbers. And this is where sometimes stats-wise, like the new generation will go, if I say R9's better than Ronaldo, Cristiano, they're going to go, are you crazy? He's scored 1,000 goals. But sometimes it's not about just stats. It's about what does your eyes tell you. And anyone who's watched, so you would have watched him, R9 is the best centre forward I've ever seen.
R9, for me, that's my hero. You know, he is... That's why I wanted to become a striker. You look at him, and Ronaldo has done absolutely magnificent, yeah? And Ronaldo, it's all about numbers and goal scoring, and he's obsessed with that, and that makes him so good. But R9 is just phenomenal. He's just incredible.
Better.
Oh yeah, as a footballer,
you
so much
both
more
agree with
natural.
me on that.
Yeah, but you said because the way you said goal scorer.
Yeah.
Now you can't compare the numbers because Ronaldo's numbers are crazy.
You know what I mean? Like a better player.
He's a better player.
Yeah.
He's a better player. He's the things that he used to do, picking up the ball and dribbling, the goals that he scored for Barcelona. Oh my God! If he didn't injure himself with
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
We're live this Tuesday morning from New York. Going to head back in your direction over in the UK. Wimbledon now getting underway. It will get a bit more serious next week, but certainly getting very interesting this week as well. Let's hear from Lisa Sullivan. Lisa, hi to you.
Hiya. In all the talk of the underwhelming British progress into round 2 and the arrival of Serena Williams later, the spotlight hasn't been focused much on the 2025 champion Iga Swiatek. She is underway here on centre court and in the opening exchanges with Taylor Townsend, who has got the game for the turf. A real serve volley fan, this could be a good one to watch. Katie Swan has guaranteed some British representation into the second round. A 6-4, 6-4 win over Irina Camelia Begu, a real tonic for her after a torrid run of injury setbacks. And on court at the minute, Arthur Ferry struggling against Damien Dezur. 6-3, 2-1 the score in that one. Harry Wendelken took the first set against Valentine Royer. They are into a fourth with Wendelken 2-1 down. And Jacob Fernley's in trouble against Alex Michelson of the USA. 6-3, 5-3 the score over there.
Lisa, thank you very much indeed. Lisa O'Sullivan bringing us up to date with events at Wimbledon. In the meantime, it's time for this.
The Playbook with talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or visit talksportbet.com for all the latest odds and offers. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Yeah, we're going to look ahead to the day ahead with talkSPORT Bet and their ambassador, Ryan Douglas, who is back in the UK. Ryan, how are you? How was your trip home?
It was a long trip home, I'm not going to lie to you. And I'm looking over my shoulder, and it's not quite New York, is it? Honestly, boys, soak that last week in. Soak it in, because it's everything's the same back here. It's exactly the same. So I'm gutted not to be in the studio, lads, but great to be on air with you once again.
Good to be with you, Ryan. The two window cleaners, Angel and Milton, are asking for you, mate, after a starring role from the two of them just moments ago. So let's get into it. What are you going to tell us? What about Erling Haaland?
Well, I just want to say on the window cleaners, I've already put in a request to get a nice talkSPORT Bet special for Simon for PM. I'll let you know how we get on with that, see if we can get that priced up for you. But yeah, today, well, let's talk about Haaland. He was an unused sub against France, which you can totally understand from the manager's perspective, Jim. But and look, don't adjust your screen here in terms of the day ahead. talkSPORT Bet have super boosted Haaland to score. We'll have more of that. I'm loving that talkSPORT Bet. It's been boosted to 5-4. In terms of the man himself, as I say, you can understand the manager not playing him. But Martin, I never had the pleasure of being with you on air, so I want to pick the brains of you here. Only 2 goals behind Messi. Do you think someone, as hell-bent on scoring as Haaland is, would have been disappointed not to play against France? Would you expect him to be disappointed not to play against France? I mean, he slipped to 20-1 now to be the tournament top goal scorer, despite only being 2 goals behind Messi. That could have helped,
Yeah, interesting. I think no. I think it's more a case of wrapping him in cotton wool. They looked at the French and thought they're probably not going to win that game. So they've had 10 players have had a rest. They've had 8 days break now. He'll be coming out looking to score goals. Don't worry about that. And he's, as you say, he's only a couple of goals behind. The goal scoring actually in this competition has been quite phenomenal. Actually, we've had 10 players who've scored 3 goals, and we've had 23 players scored 2 goals. Not to mention Messi was 6 and Mbappe 4. 3 players with 4 goals. So it's been a tournament of goal scoring.
Actually, on that, Martin, you make a good point. But are we seeing good goal scoring, or are we seeing poor defending?
The defending seems to... do you know what? Defending has gone out the window a little bit, Jim, but I'm all for it. It's a better spectacle, isn't it? This is an amazing World Cup for the goals that we're seeing scored. Ironically, last night, the 2 games finished with penalties, but which didn't really reflect what we've seen up to then. So maybe when it really comes to it, defences get their act together. Yeah. But up to now, the strikers are really catching the eye. And unlike our manager, Tuchel, told us that, it's about the group and the squad, but you can't beat a maverick player that scores a World Cup, can
yeah, exactly.
The ones that we've seen in the past, the Pelés and Cruyffs and all these, they stand out in your mind.
Yeah.
So Haaland is one we're all going to be watching tonight.
You're going to give us something on Argentina then, Ryan?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this very aesthetically pleasing circular bracket, the way that they're branding it, Argentina could potentially not face a quote-unquote big nation until the semi-final, which coincidentally I think would be the winner of Brazil versus England. So talkSPORT Bet have 13-8 Argentina to make the final. But perhaps, Simon, I don't know if I remember you telling me when I was with you that you weren't convinced by the Germans, and you ended up being right there. The bet here I've got in front of me is Argentina to win the World Cup and Messi to be the top goal scorer. That's 5-1. Are you convinced by the Argentinians, or do you think the Messi effect, might wither away as the tournament goes on?
I am not convinced by the Argentinians. I think they'll go deep into the tournament, but I don't think they'll win it. I think the winners will come out of the French, the Spanish, the Brazilian, or the English. That's my view.
How can you not be? Wow. How can you not be impressed with Argentina?
I'm not convinced. Didn't say I was not pressed. I said I'm not convinced by their credentials of winning this tournament.
They've been absolutely amazing. Do you see that Messi's lost anything between the last World Cup and this? We were all fed this story. He had lots of injuries. I went through and looked, and he's hardly missed a game. He's been preparing for this for 4 years. He's been in America for 4 years. It's
been a stroll.
Who's to say that you...
He had a cigar on in America.
If he gets injured, I think if he gets injured, they're in trouble. But I do feel a lot of people have ignored Argentina. They are a really massive chance of winning this.
Right. What we're not going to do is ignore Marcus Rashford. So what are you going to give us there, Ryan?
I know, Jim. It's been reported by a few high-profile journalists now that he'll be integrated back into the United setup when he returns from the World Cup. Carrick's given the green light on that. But his next club is still any Spanish side. They are still the favourites at 2-1. I suppose the question for the lads, Jim, is would it be a mistake for either party if he becomes a United player again?
Best way to sell him is give the idea that you're integrating him back into the team, because at this moment in time, you know, United have a player that Barcelona didn't pick up an option on. Go work it out. Why don't these teams pick up the option? I've talked about him endlessly, about being a consequence player. That whenever there's a consequence, Marcus Rashford steps up. When there's a consequence of not having a good season and not getting into the England team for the World Cup, he has a good season. When he behaves badly and comes back from a disciplinary issue, he plays well for the next 3 games. So that's a wonderful mentality to have. Ironically, it's not, because it's the sort of player that you don't really want around you to rely on.
Wasn't it about getting him away from Manchester, though, in terms of the environment that was around him, and will he be falling back into that? I assume now he's kind of fixed again.
If the problem is, you can always blame something on the environment, or you can look at yourself and say, wherever I go, the problem comes with me, because I am the problem. So if he was so wonderful, why would you sign Anthony Gordon to replace him at Barcelona? You had him there, you had him there, you had him there within the confines of your environment. You didn't want him.
But I think there is a hunger that's returned to his game, and I do feel now he's back on track. But it's still kind of a gamble. Maybe the manager that's in situ now, though.
Yeah, but maybe Simon's got a point, though, Martin. This is the biggest shop window of the lot.
Yeah, but as your career winds down, you get fewer and fewer opportunities, and you have to start to do it and produce. You don't want to be looking back.
Maybe he can do a podcast with some soft music in the background, and they can market it that way.
So unfair.
He never lets go, Ryan. You witnessed that at face value last week, did you not? The powers of this guy's retention is incredible. I've got to hand it to him. So on Marcus Rashford, how do you want to finish then, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it's any Spanish side who are the favourites now at 2-1. So it is by some distance in comparison to anybody in the Premier League. I'm a Man United fan myself, and I actually think I'm in the minority, believe it or not, that I think the ship has sailed, and I want him to... I think it's good for him as well to go elsewhere. I think there's too much there now between him and Manchester United, but that's just my humble opinion. But to end, Jim, yeah, any Spanish side are the favourites to sign Marcus Rashford, despite him returning to Manchester United to train with them at least.
When you say any Spanish side, I don't want to pour water on your argument, but he's got a £350,000 a week salary, so it can't be Osasuna, can it?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's got to be one of the big boys. In terms of how it corresponds with the betting, it's kind of like talkSPORT Bet have you covered. It doesn't need to be on a club-by-club basis. If it's a Spanish side, then we'll pay you out on that. But yeah, it is more than likely going to be one of the big boys because of that huge salary, which again is another sticking point as to probably why there's not a flood of clubs that have come in for him, to be honest.
Yeah. Ryan, we miss you, but more accurately, we miss your bagels and your croissant that you used to bring into the studio every morning, mate.
I know. I'll see what I can do. I'll speak to the guys and see if they can bring something up on talkSPORT Bet. We'll see. I'll pull some strings.
Top man, thank you very much indeed. That was a look at latest odds thanks to talkSPORT Bet. 18+, gambleaware.org.
The Playbook with talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or visit talksportbet.com to see all our latest sign-up offers. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Germany's shock exit against Paraguay on penalties. A side ranked 31 places below them. So get this, I don't know if you're aware of this, since winning the World Cup in 2014, Emanuel, Germany's record is this. In 2018, out in the group stage, 22 out in the group stage, 26 round of 32.
Unbelievable.
What is going on with German football at the moment?
I think Gary Lineker have to change what he said about the Germans now. Because he used to say that football is a game that German always win. You know,
Okay.
At the end of the game, it's always German that win, but they are not winning anymore.
No,
it's a mess. It's a crash. It's a big failure. So I think today, within the next few days, I think it's gonna be a huge fight, you know, in the newspapers, and people will want, you know, some head to fall down. So. I'm very, very sad for the Germans, but in the meantime, I'm very happy because honestly, I don't have a big link with Germans, but what I saw last night reminds me what happened to us, you know, during the World Cup 1998 against Paraguay. Remember, you know, back in days, we had the golden goal, you know, scored by Laurent Blanc, you know. And we qualified, and the game stopped straight away. But I saw exactly when I was watching the game on TV, that remember exactly what happened against Paraguay. They wanted to go to the penalty with Chilavert, you know, the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
He was the star man, you know, for this team. And they almost did it, you know, until that Laurent Blanc scored.
Sport. 1 minute past 2, good afternoon. What's the solution to England's dearth at right back as their first knockout game fast approaches tomorrow? We expect Jed Spence to start in that position, but with no Kwanzaa available, it means Konza will have to be ready to fill in. His club teammate Ollie Watkins told talkSPORT, if required, the centre-back has all the required attributes.
He played there. I remember we played against Brazil and Vinicius couldn't get past theirs. You know, he's so solid, so he can go and really excel there and make it really tough for top-class wingers to get past him.
Before England, though, the favourites, the French, play tonight live on talkSPORT against Sweden at 10 p.m. Emanuel Petit says the fact that Didier Deschamps will leave his role as head coach after the tournament following the passing of his mother is enhancing the bonds in the dressing room.
We saw that last week, for example, with Kylian Mbappe. Don't worry, Gaffer, we all love you and we're all behind you. We will try everything we can, you know. So this is something for me important. Sometimes you need extra X factor, you know, extra motivation.
Petit also thinks Julian Nagelsmann has to be replaced as German boss following their exit. Regarding the Dutch, Chelsea legend Mario Melchiot thinks Ronald Koeman will also likely be moved on. He reckons there are certain teams at the tournament who are showing more energy than others.
Watching Holland, the passion that they compete with from the other opponents is something they have to take from them. The Latins have great passion, but if you saw what the passion the Africans are bringing now, it's a different league.
And there's finally been a British first-round winner at Wimbledon, with British number 6 Katie Swan getting past Irina Camilla Begu in straight sets. 11 home players fell before her, including number 2 Katie Bolter, who lost against 18-year-old Italian Tyra Grant.
talkSPORT News.
So Keir Starmer's announced what he's called game-changing investment in Britain's armed forces, and the Health Secretary is refusing to say when a maternity commissioner for England will be in place. Emma has more at 2:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 400 EV-ready centres across the UK, we're top of the league for electric car owners. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
Staying showery in northern and western areas, some thunder in the north as well, some patchy rain across southeast England at times, cloudy with brighter spells elsewhere.
Hello.
Hi everybody, we are live from New York City. New Yorkers getting up and heading to work. Just gone 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, they're up a heck of a lot earlier than that, I can assure you. I walk by hundreds of them in the morning at 6:30 in the morning in this part of the world. They start early in this part of the world. It's back at 2 o'clock back in the UK. So, Germany out, the Netherlands out, Brazil march on. Gabriel Martinelli of Arsenal scored a dramatic 95th minute winner as Brazil came from behind to beat Japan and set up a World Cup last 16 tie against either Erling Haaland's Norway or the Ivory Coast. How far can Brazil go here in the USA? Do they remain the most unfancied World Cup contenders? Let's head from here, New York, to Houston, Texas, and join Brazilian journalist who's been reporting on Brazil's activities here in the USA, Samir Melo. Samir, thank you so much for joining us. What is your feeling about Brazil? Do you feel good? Do you think you're on the brink of something special? What do you think?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here talking to you. Yeah, the feelings after yesterday are much greater. If you would have asked me like a week and a half ago, I would be much more cynical and maybe suspicious about Brazil's chances in this World Cup. But I think because we have Carlo Ancelotti on our side and everything that he's been promising us that would happen, it's happening. So Brazil is growing. He said before that he doesn't want his team to have an identity because he wants his team to do many different things, and Brazil is playing in different dynamics. So yeah, I think the win yesterday against Japan, who presented a real tough test, made me believe a little more. And I think that those are the kind of wins that make great teams in the World Cup and that make teams grow and groups come together. So yeah, I think the feelings are much better this morning talking to you guys about Brazil's chances.
Samir, that's interesting. Simon beside me and Martin are going to come in and I think put a couple of points to you. But before the tournament got underway, what truly were Brazil's expectations? What were your expectations going into this tournament?
Well, we have to go back all the way to the end of the Qatar World Cup when Tite left, and we had a really messy cycle of coaches. The Brazilian Federation was in disarray. So there was a lot of things going behind the scenes. Like I said, we had like Ramon Menezes, Dorival Júnior, and Fernando Diniz as Brazilian coaches, and neither of them stuck for long. And we were playing the waiting game with Carlo Ancelotti because I think maybe he was seen as the man that would give Brazil a fighting chance. That is not our most brilliant generation of players, but with him at the helm, he could, do something with these players. But we were all kind of suspicious, and when we say we, like the Brazilian fans, so we weren't really optimistic up until Ancelotti came, and really after when he signed for us, the team weren't really showing signs that would be like a contender when we talk about like France and Spain and even England at moments. Brazil weren't seen as, the five-time world champion that from, past years.
Yes.
So yeah, we were suspicious and we were kind of seeing what would happen with this team. And I think we are now showing signs that we can, maybe do something a little more respectful to Brazil's shirts in this World Cup.
Samir, just looking at your midfield, Casemiro is getting a lot of criticism in the UK, people saying not enough pace. Are you feeling that as well? I mean, look, Martinelli scored a very good goal yesterday, and I think you're progressing through the tournament competition. Is it enough just to have this outstanding manager? It looks like there's not enough pace. The first goal you conceded against Japan exposed you in that area when you lost possession cheaply, which is unusual for Brazil. What's your feeling of the midfield pace, and is there anyone else they can bring into that role?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Casemiro scored the goal, right, that tied the game yesterday, but that by no means, I think, erases the problems that I think Casemiro is showing in this World Cup. He's offering a lot of space. Like you said, the pace is an issue. A lot of mistakes with passes that, he should be hitting. So, and Japan knew how to use that. They went for a back five and then a four-man in their midfield, and they play in a way that Brazil doesn't really like playing, with a low block, and Brazil having to be really patient. And then Japan's goal came off a mistake by Danilo with the pass in the middle of the pitch. that Casemiro, with already a yellow card, didn't bother. I think it was Sane, right, who scored the goal. And Gabriel Magalhães and Alisson didn't do their jobs as well. So, yeah, Casemiro has been an issue, and I think he will be an issue against teams that know how to play with this fast pace and explore the midfield weaknesses. And you asked me about options. Well, we have Danilo Santos, who has been, every time he joins the game, he's been playing really well. But he's more of an offensive midfield, right? So when Wesley, the right fullback, got injured and he was cut from the World Cup, Ancelotti, who had called like few midfielders, he called Ederson from Atalanta. So maybe he could be an option, but he hasn't gotten a chance yet to play.
I would just think that Paquetá, when you haven't got possession of the ball, I'm not sure what he's doing. You know, Casemiro, I think, shows with the goal. He's got character. You need him in there. It's what you have around him, not so much Casemiro in that midfield. But you're growing every game. The emotion, the scenes at the end were quite remarkable. I'm really pleased for Martinelli. I wonder if Martinelli, does he start on the right, or do you just stick with what you've got?
Well, that's also really interesting because I don't know if you saw the answer that Ancelotti gave to the press yesterday after the game, that we are used to seeing Martinelli. I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm used to seeing Martinelli in the position that Vinicius Junior plays, right, for Arsenal, up in the left wing. But Ancelotti has other ideas for Martinelli, like maybe a second attacker, or even like at times at the game yesterday, Martinelli went as a number 8, playing more or less what Paquetá was doing at times, supporting Vinicius Junior on the left and associating with him and Douglas Santos. So it's really interesting because he said that Martinelli has the work rate to play at midfield and do the runs like box to box, but also the intelligence and the IQ to know how to position himself when the team needs someone a little more backwards, right? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see after everything that Martinelli did yesterday, if he's going to be used a lot more, and I think he deserves a chance.
I agree.
Especially if Paquetá is injured because he left the game because of a thigh problem, a thigh issue. So maybe Martinelli, we can see him more in this position, which is a new thing for him, I think.
Samir, you talked about the expectation or the opportunity that Carlo Ancelotti presents. I mean, we're very au fait with a lot of the Brazilian players, probably more so than we've ever been because so many of them have played in the Premier League, whether it be Casemiro, Guimaraes, Lucas Paquetá or Cunha. You look at it and you factor in the Ancelotti factor. I watched you guys in the Moroccan game and you were poor in the first half and Morocco passed around you and had far more legs. Obviously the results have gotten better. I don't think playing against Scotland and Haiti is a blueprint for winning in a World Cup, but beating the Japanese is. What is the expectation of Ancelotti? Is this team in of itself alongside Ancelotti good enough to win this World Cup in the expectation of Brazilian fans?
Well, Ancelotti has been preaching calm. You know, he has been preaching work. He has been preaching like step by step, game to game. So, you know, in Brazil, we say 80 or 80, right? If we win, everything is a party and we're going to win the World Cup. And if you lose or like we tied against Morocco, then nobody's good anymore. Who is Vinicius Junior? Why did we bring this Italian guy to coach the Brazilian national team? So I think the greatest strength of Ancelotti, and I talk with some Italian journalists here, is that in the middle of all this noise, and like yesterday, the whole stadium was starting to boo Casemiro, was starting to lose its patience after the first half. And Ancelotti is able to keep his calm, his composure. He's kind of stubborn in a way, but in a good way, as it's been proven with his Real Madrid teams that have been getting improbable victories, right? When they were needing the result, and then we're like in additional time. So I think that's his biggest strength. To be calm and to be collected and to have this composure in the middle of all the noise. And I think that we needed that after all the messy cycle that I told you guys about. We need someone who is objective and is not listening to the press, is not listening to what the stadium is screaming at him. He's just looking at the game and say, okay, this is what my team needs, even though it goes against, some supposed logic. So, yeah, I think that's why we are a little more hopeful because we have Carlo Ancelotti, and I think yesterday was a Carlo Ancelotti game.
Samir, what are you hearing, and what are the rest of the Brazilian journalists hearing about Bruno Guimaraes? Is he on his way out of Newcastle? Is that going to happen?
We've not been listening a lot. You know, the players after the games and in mixed zones and interviews, they are refusing to talk about other things than the World Cup. But yeah, we listen to a little noise about Arsenal, but we don't have much information on that. I think Bruno Guimarães has been doing a fabulous World Cup, so he's definitely been getting a lot of eyes on him because I think he's one of the best news for Brazil in this midfield and in this team. He's been well positioned. Contrary to Casemiro and Lucas Paquetá at times, he's been helping out on attack. He already has 4 assists, I think, in this World Cup. So yeah, he's been playing really well, but not much has been said about his destiny after the World Cup.
Samir, we're so glad you've joined us. Here's the thing, before you leave us, all things being equal, if Brazil carry on the way they're going, they could meet England in the quarterfinals of this tournament. Would you fancy your chances?
Well, I think it'll be definitely a tough game. I think both Ancelotti and Thomas Tuchel, when you compare with the other coaches who have been long standing in their jobs, like in Spain or Deschamps with France, he's been over 10 years, right, with France. So they don't have much time. So I think they're still finding their right teams. So it's going to be a game of adjustments on the fly. And I think the best coach is going to win. So I fancy my chances with Ancelotti against Tuchel. But it's going to be a tough game for sure.
Oh, Samir, thank you. Obrigado. Thank you for joining us on the show today, Samir.
Obrigado a vocês. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely brilliant. Top journalist with the Brazilian media, Samir Melo, joining us live. We're live here in New York. Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown live in partnership with Tool Station. First stop, Tool Station.
Jimmy, do you think behind Kane, Bellingham is our most important player?
I think they are on a par together. I think he is something else. You know, he's got a habit of turning up in really important moments. If you look at the goals that he scores, and when he scores them, you know, 1-0s, and Benty will agree with me. It's so important to score the 1-0s and 1-1s, the 2-1s. You know, those important goals. Not a lot of players can do that. And he has got that thing around him. I don't know how he does it, but he just has it, that he turns up at really important moments, like an overhead kick, for instance, like the goal other day, out of nothing. You know, it's just the feeling for him, putting his left foot around it and score. You know, that's why I want him closer all the time to the box, to the goal.
He's world class, right?
For me, he's world class.
How many world class players do England have?
I think England has got a few. I think Argentina has got Messi, yeah, but then really, what more? But they have got the team. If you look at France has got several, yeah. But
a Dutch,
a couple, but I don't think that England are far behind. You know,
who are England's world class players?
Oh gosh, you like to put me on the spot here. Well, we know Harry Kane is world class. We know Bellingham is world class. I see Saka as world class. I see Declan as world class. Rashford in top form.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
We're live in New York tomorrow night. England face off against DR Congo, and if you're in the Midlands, there's no better place to watch it than the talkSPORT fan zone. The atmosphere was electric on Saturday night at the SI warehouse, and we're ready to go again with special guest England and Villa legend Emile Heskey. Early bird tickets are now on sale at talksport.com/fanzone. So don't miss out and get yours now. That's talksport.com/fanzone. We're live this morning, as we have been, from New York City. Another beautiful day on the horizon here. Some of the headline stories here in the US, of course, feature the fact, and it is a fact, that Germany are out and heading home. That the Netherlands are out and heading home. That the country that the USA here in this part of the world has chosen to go to war with, Iran, are out and are heading home. But one of the big questions being asked here, and some of the answers are interesting to that question, did the authorities here contribute to that outcome, that Iran are now no longer playing a part in this World Cup? So, a dramatic 3-3 draw between Algeria and Austria saw Iran eliminated from the tournament over the weekend. Out they went, but they didn't go out quietly. That is for sure. The Iran coach, Galani, the captain, Mehdi Taremi, claimed that FIFA would rather they were knocked out of the tournament than stay here in the USA. Taremi spoke after they went out, and he didn't miss. This is the captain.
It's a disaster World Cup. It's a disaster. Win off charge. FIFA. They have to solve every problem here, but unfortunately they couldn't solve since the beginning. Mr. Infantino came to our changing room first game and he said, it's just the beginning, but it's group stage finish tomorrow. And we don't have our logistic people here. They don't have a visa. As a professional players, professional competition, it's not right. Yeah? It's our opinion, because now we have traveled again going to Tijuana again. So without recovery, without nothing, it's not fair. But by our opinion, it's not fair. If is it fair for the FIFA? Okay, good to them. But it's not fair. Who wants to help us? Who? If they want us to be out, okay, let's out. Let's get out. But that's not fair.
So that has made headline news here. The Iranian captain, Mehdi Taremi, claiming that FIFA would rather they were knocked out of the tournament rather than they carried on. The US Homeland Security Secretary, Mark Wayne Mullen, told reporters here in the US last night of his delight that Iran had been knocked out. This man Mullen said, "I'm just glad they're done and they're not coming back. I was so happy when we were able to pull their visas and said they could leave the US soil and I might have sung a song or two, or maybe even danced a happy dance. There wasn't a single team that we dealt with more than them. Simon, what do you make of US Homeland Security Secretary Mark-Wayne Mullen's comments there?
Well, they're not very statesmanlike, but notwithstanding, they're probably steeped in some degree of truth, because it's probably been quite challenging, because the Iranians have been very vociferous about the challenges that they faced. They've made lots of noises about the unfairness and the inherent unfairness of the position they find themselves in, alongside trying to get visas for various people inside their group that the Americans have had great objections to. They've left notes inside dressing rooms about the terrible plight that they've had to suffer, and so on and so forth. So I suspect in the context of a headache and aggravation and media attention is what he's referring to. I don't think from a competitive position of wishing the football team to do poorly is where he's coming from, in the same position as probably FIFA. FIFA, if you want to blame a villain in this...
Should he be saying it, though?
Well, he can say as he pleases. He's a government official. He's talking about the manner in which he's dealing with these people and how he feels that they cause a problem for him. In a perfect world, possibly not.
Oh, they're quite disgusting comments.
Well, I don't think they're disgusting.
Off the back of Iran being eliminated. I'm glad they're done.
But again...
I'm glad they're not coming back.
Again, contextually, if you're him and you're being bombarded by the Iranians with their constant objection to how they're being treated, and some would say with some legitimacy, right, then you probably are glad that they're gone from an administration point of view. Not from a competitive... I just imagine FIFA are probably quite glad they're gone in some respects. Not from a footballing nation point of view.
But it was unfair and unequal, the way that they had to travel in on the days of games. You don't even do that domestically.
Yes, but we know that. And what we're dealing with is unique circumstances. How many times in a World Cup has a nation that's been at war, the Russians weren't involved in the last World Cup. We've got unprecedented circumstances, and we can all be holier than thou and say, well, it's unfair. We know it's unfair from a sporting point of view.
Yeah, but they're not at war with the football team.
No, but the circumstances is that people utilise sport, as we often allow them to do, to make propaganda, to bring messages into play. There was always going to be a backdrop. You saw the Iranian Americans in the Los Angeles Stadium being supportive of their regime being overturned. You have another alternate set of views. So it presents itself with a raft of challenges. Now, of course, the players have the wonderful inbuilt opportunity to blame everything but themselves for their performances. It doesn't help that they had to fly in games, but playing against a side that everyone beats and the New Zealanders are still coming out of the draw is on the players themselves. But I get the point of view, which in a football tournament, this is far from ideal. But we can turn around and say these are disgusting comments from the Homeland, the head of the Homeland Security, talking about the challenges they might have met. If anybody wants to have their problem with somebody, why don't they have it with FIFA? Because FIFA are the ones that signed up the hosting agreements and have refused to hold the Americans to the agreements they signed up to.
And in part, you could say that in part has led to Iran being eliminated, because nobody else has been dealt with in the way that they have been dealt.
Nobody else is at war with
they got three draws here, didn't they?
Yeah.
Taremi making the point that basically it would have been an embarrassment for them to continue. I mean, how would they have managed them if they'd have gone on in the tournament? Because at the moment, I mean, the last game they were going into, they were given the impression that FIFA would step in. They could go 2 days in advance to prepare.
Yeah.
And they sat around waiting for 2 days. It didn't happen. It's not ideal preparation.
I think disgusting sums it up, Simon. Mullen, I was so happy when we were able to pull their visas and said they could leave US soil. I might have sung a song. I might have even had a happy dance. But the authorities here, you have to say, are partly to blame.
But again, unless we understand the context of how difficult it has been for the administration of the Americans to be able to handle the situation, we can turn around and say whatever we want. I personally, if I was in an American function of controlling the admittance of a country that we're at war at, I'd probably find it quite problematic. I may not go out and turn around and say I've done a little dance, sung a little song, but I might turn around and say it's a relief to me, with all due respect to this country and all due respect to its footballers. It's a bloody headache.
Yeah.
It's been a nightmare. We've had people in their organisation that have got associations with the IRGC that we push back on their visas, and all of a sudden they make a 4-act play out of it. We've had a whole raft of challenges. So with all due respect to a football tournament, we find it quite problematic.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be saying.
What I'd say is tough.
But that's fine. And so
I would say tough, because the authorities are partly to blame. This individual, Mark-Wayne Mullen,
but that's a very simplistic...
The comments to make, but you are hearing it from the heart, from the Iranians. Shuffled in, shuffled out.
But why?
No time.
Okay.
Get back to Tijuana.
Just out of curiosity, because I like a balanced conversation.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, is there any reason that we could find to find some validity behind those decisions? Because from my point of view, whilst we can turn around and say, from the optics of being the media, well, that's because you're victimising this country because you're at war with them. Is there any legitimacy behind these processes needing to be invoked? Because if there isn't, and we're across it, then we can sit there and go, that's appalling. What an awful way to behave. But if there is validity and there's a necessity to do it, then with due respect, what's the alternative?
Well, one assumes it was done on the basis of security, safety.
Of course. But is that a valid reason, or were they victimising Iran because of the circumstances somewhere else? And I suspect it's a combination of the two.
I think there's a lack of transparency in terms of what they did and why they did it. The coach, Gallinoi, shuffled in, shuffled out the country. Had the host country allowed us to arrive 2 weeks earlier, we'd have been more prepared. I get that. There were reasonable, rational demands from us. We'd have been able to recover and be in better shape physically, mentally. However, they deprived us of that justice. We had to go straight back to Tijuana.
Yeah.
Took us 3 hours in a flight. Their behaviour towards us has really been terrible, and we hope the world will be aware of that.
But that's his version of events.
Galinoi's not wrong in that, Simon. No one else has had to operate like the Iranians have had to operate here on US soil.
But nobody else is at war with them.
That's the point.
So it's unprecedented situation.
But the Americans are not at war with the football team.
No.
And that
here.
had to be
That's why they're here.
separated because the Iranian football squad has been victimised here on US soil.
So when we talk about the challenges of the American immigration policy and the idea that it was going to be a terrible situation inside stadiums, which, by the way, none of that's happened, right, with ICE, why were we so keen to highlight that situation and acknowledge the challenges that might present, but fail to acknowledge the fact that an Iranian team that represents a country that the Americans are at war at might have had some challenges amongst Iranian Americans, amongst Americans? There might have been real, legitimate security concerns. And we're not privy to that. So for us to be judge, jury and executioner from half the story, because it looks unreasonable, because an Iranian representative turns around and says, this is how we've been treated.
Maybe if the Iranian squad had been such a threat to US security, the US should have made a big decision before the tournament and said, it is better you don't come. It is better you don't feature at this World Cup. But they came and they were treated poorly.
So on the flip side of that...
Can you deny, Simon, they've been treated
poorly? But these are inflammatory comments, aren't they, from the Secretary?
Prima facie, yes. But the next argument would have been, if they had made that decision, that highfalutin decision to say, on the balance of probabilities, we think the risks are too high, there would have been outrage beyond the level of outrage that we've seen.
But they would have had to own that.
Fine, and they've owned this too. But we don't like them owning it.
In a very unstylish
No, but that's your judgment. They've owned it.
You said unstatesmanlike.
If the one thing, but the one thing they've done, Jim, is owned it.
Yeah.
They've owned it. You've just heard him own it.
Yeah.
Happy they've gone.
They're happy they've gone. Of that, there is no doubt. And Iran have gone. We're still here at 2:30 in the afternoon back in the UK at, well, you know by now, 9:30 here in New York. And we're live on talkSPORT.
Bentley has been terrified all week about the Ghanaian witch doctor he slagged off.
No, he did not.
Supposedly putting a curse on Harry Kane and England's #9, subsequently missing a sitter. Now, thankfully, the witch doctor, of course, lifted the curse.
It's funny.
Right. Now, there was a report in The Sun that you, Emmanuel, were cursed by a witch doctor.
It's Senegal.
Ignored it.
2002.
And got injured.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, before the World Cup in 2002, no, after the World Cup, actually, because we went out very quickly, during the World Cup in Asia. And when I came back, I was in holidays in south of France, and I had a friend, he was selling watches, on the beach, and he was expecting me. He was waiting for me for days. And then when he saw me, he came to me straight away and he said, I'm so happy to see you because I have something important to tell you. And I said, what is it? And he said, you have to be very careful because you have, how can I say that?
Curse?
A curse, yeah, on you. And you have to follow exactly what I'm going to tell you. And I said, what is it? He said, you have to go in Africa and you have to buy a cow and you have to kill it. And you have to follow...
Bit detailed and extreme, that one.
Yeah, but I said, listen, I understand and I really appreciate that. But this is your traditions and I'm not into it. So I won't do it. And 6 months later, I had to stop. But is it coincidental link? I won't say that,
So what happened to you? You got injured?
Yeah. And
they
cut my leg in 2 parts, so I had to stop playing football.
Did you get injured kicking a cow?
No.
Hold on. What part you got injured? Was it the calf?
No, that's my knee, the right knee, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't believe in any of that?
No, yes, I believe in it.
Are you amazed that Benny slagged him off?
No, I believe in numbers. I believe in sign, rounds. I think you have to be...
okay.
Is it superstitions? I have no idea, but...
Are you superstitious?
No, yes, I am.
Okay.
It's becoming ridiculous as well.
Iconic. There's no other word. An 18-karat gold trophy that owns the world, and it waits. It waits for 4 years. It's 1971, and FIFA need a new trophy to replace the Jules Rimet, so they launch a worldwide design competition. And in his studio in Milan, 50-year-old sculptor Silvio Gazzaniga immediately gets to work. But instead of sending FIFA a picture, he goes further and makes a prototype they can hold. It works. FIFA choose his design over 52 others, and perhaps the most beautiful piece of silverware or goldenware enters the beautiful game. Let's let the artist himself describe it. Gazzaniga said the idea was to create something symbolising exertion, dynamism, and the jubilation of an athlete in the moment of victory, with all the joy that contains. The malachite rings in the base fitted the sculpture well because it's green like a football field, and it's also a precious stone. The first captain to lift the trophy was Franz Beckenbauer in 1974, and of course, it's only the greatest who get their hands on it. Zoff, Matthias paved the way for the modern-day heroes who dreamt of lifting Gazzaniga's masterpiece. But there was something about this man holding it that seemed to deliver everything the sculptor had imagined. Were I to ever redo it, the artist once said, I wouldn't change a thing.
talkSPORT Big Match Build-Up with Village Hotels. Watch the big games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com.
Here we go. Time to look at tonight's games with Village Hotels. And here in New York this morning, the three of us has become the four of us, because to celebrate the fact that France going against Sweden tonight at 10 o'clock your time back in the UK, the game at the MetLife over there in New Jersey, live in talkSPORT, I'm delighted to say top broadcaster with ESPN, Monsieur Julien Laurent, has joined us live in studio. And what you can't see is that Julien is wearing a very nice pair of shorts and kind of Gucci slip-on shoes, as any true Frenchman would.
It's too hot, sorry, it's too hot.
Never.
I've got nice legs as well, so I thought short.
Well, Simon and I did remark on that. When your back was turned, he's got a good pair of pins, I think
He's having himself fun, by the way.
Here we go. How has it been for you, Monsieur Laurent?
It's been great so far. The French have done really well. 3 wins in 3 games. The last time we did that was 1998 when we won the World Cup. So it could be a good omen. But like I was saying with the boys, we are too strong. Everybody says, oh, you've won it already. Which is never good with us because we always have a possibility of imploding completely. So it's one way or the other. But so far, it's been great, apart from obviously Didier Deschamps losing his mum. That was really difficult for the whole camp. But now he's back, and he seems, despite the pain, he seems focused, and I hope the boys give him a really good rest of the tournament.
Julian, can we ask you about that? Didier Deschamps, the head coach, learned of his mum's death the day after France's win over Iraq. That was at the tail end of the month, June the 22nd. It was reported that France's request to wear black armbands, Julian, after that appeared to be refused by FIFA.
Yeah.
Is that true? The French Football Federation told reporters of the refusal before the final group game against Norway. Is that true?
Yeah. They asked for a minute of silence, which was coupled with the tribute for the victims of the Venezuela earthquake. So, the minute of silence was always going to happen anyway. And then they asked for the black armband, and FIFA refused. And apparently, without giving really any sort of explanation of why those 22 players, or even just the French 11 plus subs, could not wear the black armband, which I think they were disappointed. But that's, if that's the rule, then it applies to everyone. And then there's no argument to have. But they thought at least they could have done that for Deschamps, who obviously had to fly home, missed that game against Norway. His assistant Guy Stéphane took charge of the team, and then he came back in the night. But yeah, it would have been, I think, a nice touch from FIFA personally to have allowed the French to do this.
Do you find that strange, Simon? I mean, this was nothing political, as we've seen in the past. This was purely an emotional demonstration from the French team to show Deschamps they were thinking about him.
Yeah, I mean,
and the French public.
I think it's just a protocol about what you can put on shirts, what bands you can wear. We've had this discussion about, in a completely different subject, about One Love armbands being something that was ruled out by FIFA. So whilst we look at from the human side of this argument and debate or observation that you'd like to think that people can make exceptions, then what happens is this reasonable exception that's made to show respect to the passing of the national team manager for France will then be utilised as a precedent for someone to do something that really doesn't have any validity, and you start to stretch the envelope. So unfortunately, it looks unkind, and it looks unsympathetic and lacking in human emotion.
Yeah.
But it's probably steeped in some relatively good reasons, because we know what happens in life. People stretch the validity of things, and all of a sudden that will be used. This legitimate respect opportunity will be used to do something that might not be quite so respectful or quite so appreciated by others.
I don't think Deschamps himself would be wondering why that hasn't happened.
No. I think they moved on pretty quickly.
I think he moved on fairly quickly.
Yeah. And him especially, who doesn't really show much emotions, even in this very difficult time. Even yesterday in his press conference, he had a line where he said, it's obviously very difficult for me, but I'm here now and I want to focus on the rest of the tournament. So they moved on. It's just, I think it would have been a nice gesture. But Sane made the right point.
It was already
exactly
a nice
that.
gesture from France asking for that, wasn't it? This is one of the most decorated players, by the way. He's won it as a player and as a manager. So, but probably they've done the right thing, I think.
Julian, yesterday we asked how many, if you like, mentality monsters England have. Bellingham and Kane are in that conversation. Do the French have a whole lot more?
I think they do have certainly that in their squad, and I think Mbappe is obviously the biggest of all, that kind of monster mentality that he has of achieving things and breaking all those records and leading this team, and his obsession with World Cups and being the captain and lifting the trophy, being the first one to lift that trophy, all of that. But I think then you look at other players in that team that maybe not as big as a Bellingham or Kane or Mbappe, but somebody like Tchouaméni, I think, has those very much leadership mentality things. A lot of them grew up in tough conditions, in tough council estate, where you really had to fight your way out of wherever you were growing up, really. And I think that also plays a part. So there's a team that has won a lot individually, whether with the national team or at club level, but also I think a team that, for a lot of those players individually, had to fight really hard to get out of the situation.
It's interesting, Elise, we were just talking off camera, he's actually an English player that chose to play for France, which is quite ridiculous.
He's a dual national.
Yes,
he's as much French as
of course. It's a shame we didn't persuade him to play for England and see the error of his ways.
It's a really interesting one, because I think England tried, obviously, although he played for the French youth teams. But I think it was just the way he grew up watching Zidane play on tapes and on the internet and things like that. The French winning, not just the 1998 World Cup, because obviously he's very, very young, but certainly the 2018. And that desire that he's always had, and he admits it himself, to play for France more than England or even Nigeria.
His development has been astounding, isn't it? Elise playing now as a 10. He starts, obviously, for his club side on the right-hand side. Yeah. And the connection he has with Mbappe is really important for them going forward, isn't it?
Yeah, because we talked about it the last time I came here at the start of the tournament, and I thought, why not leaving him on the right where he's so used to play for his club, has all his bearings, you know, he knows that position so well. And I was more, I have to say, with my hands up, I was more keen on him staying on that right-hand side. But as a 10, he changed the game against Senegal, the first game at half-time. And then after that, he's been just outstanding. He's got more freedom. He's got the game all in front of him. He's not restricted by the touchline, basically, like he is on the right-hand side. He's been incredible.
Tell me one of the players. You have to admire the legitimacy of his choice, though. So many people pick countries where the opportunity to get into the team will be easier. This is not an easy route to get into a side. This is a national side of the highest calibre. So he's backed himself and gone down that route. We've seen players that have played, with due respect, I saw Victor Moses go from England to Nigeria. I saw Wilfried Zaha go from England to Ivory Coast. And with respect to those two countries, they're not on the same level in football terms as England. And this guy's gone the other way with respect to him.
Yeah,
so
what's he like as a character? Have you had many dealings with him?
Yeah,
he is different, isn't he?
Very, very different in his own personality.
He's a fashionista, isn't he?
He is a bit of a fashionista, but he's also very quiet. I mean, at the beginning, his language, his French was obviously not as good as the rest of the squad, so he had to work on the language, obviously. But now he's very, very different. But in a good way. But he's far more introvert than an Mbappe or a Dembele, who are very much the jokers of the.
Just talk to me a little bit about, you work in the media. I was in Paris for their last game, and it was this feeling. I was watching the game, local broadcaster. This feeling of warmth that comes from the French towards their players. You know, everybody on the sideline, from the fans, from former players. Embracing one another, going with their blessings. You go, no criticism. Whereas we have a little bit with the English where we're looking for fault. Is that a characteristic of the English? How do the French seem to sort of marry it all up? Because you're sitting here, you're cheerleader for your own team. You want France to win. You're coming here quite cocky today. France are going to do it.
I try not to be, because it's not good.
The English are a little bit down on their team. What's going on? How do you get that chemistry?
It's what you think Julian has come in un petit cocky.
But wait, France are going to win this. It's a matter of time. A little bit.
No, I didn't say that. That's the thing. I fear more the fact that everybody thinks that we've won it before we haven't won.
Just tell me how that works.
No, but it's just that when you win 3 games in 3, it's hard to be negative. Right? Yeah. England haven't played that.
So even before you set sail, there was this feeling in.
Well, no, but with this squad, if you don't think you can win it.
Julian, when you look at the French team and their performances, some would say the performance against Senegal wasn't great. The opposition against Iraq was what it was, and Norwegians rested some of their players. Yeah. So we've yet to see the French be put to a test, have we?
Yeah, completely. And I don't know if it will come today against Sweden, because again, on paper, France are heavily favourite. So it might come. The next one, which might be Paraguay if the French qualify, which again is not the kind of caliber of team that maybe you can judge a performance against. Yeah. But certainly what they wanted was to go from strength to strength. And we saw a bad first half against Senegal, much better second half. Iraq, we had the break of 2 hours. It was a bit a weird game. Against Norway, even the B team, there were some really good things with the ball and a lot of unbalance defensively without the ball, which is something they have to correct.
Sure. After I speak about Village Hotels, we'll look at the French's opponent, Sweden, later on. We'll do that in the company of Julien, who maybe is un petit cocky,
always,
as Martin Keown was quite impertinently suggesting. You can watch the games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com. Plus, for a chance to win a Village Hotel VIP experience for the World Cup final at a Village Hotel near you, head to talksport.com/win.
talkSPORT's Big Match Build-Up with Village Hotels. Watch the big games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com.
really bizarre situation what's going on with German football at the moment. Why do you think it's been total freefall ever since you guys won the World Cup in 2014?
I think there's been a certain amount of arrogance in the German camp and the FA. I think we've been living in the past since 2014, really. Nothing's really changed. I think the football is the same, very possession based. We haven't really got any mavericks that can turn games around. We saw that last night. Leonard obviously is a big miss from the World Cup before he got injured. I think he could have made a difference last night. But in terms of that, I think it's been really, really slow football. Boring at times, and when it gets physical and when we play against teams that are a little bit more athletic, I think we struggle. We've seen it in the group stage too. When you watch the Ivory Coast game, I think we got lucky there. We should have probably lost that as well. So, and Ecuador was a real eye opener. And what we failed to do after the Ecuador game was to be honest, in the press and in the team, it was kind of brushed aside as in, well, we were safe anyway kind of thing. So we took the foot off the gas, and that showed last night.
Good morning, Robert. It's Manu.
Looking good, mate.
Yeah, you too. Well, who is responsible for this mess? The manager, the players, all together?
I think it's been a combination of all what you just said. I think when you look at the game last night, could the players have done any better? I think, yeah, they could have done. I think they played with themselves. Once they went 1-0 down, they sort of stepped up a little bit. But I think, yeah.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
We have another huge night of World Cup knockout action here in talkSPORT. Straight after us, Jeff Stelling brings you live commentary of Norway versus Ivory Coast. Kickoff for that one is at 6 on talkSPORT. And following that, at 10 o'clock, France up against Sweden. Then it's all eyes on Mexico against Ecuador. What a game that will be. 2 a.m. on talkSPORT. England could face the winner of that one in the last 16 should they get past Congo tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock. 3 cracking live World Cup round of 32 knockout commentaries right here on talkSPORT. Right here, right now, is New York this Tuesday morning, coming up to 10 to 10 in this part of the world, at 10 to 3 with you back in the UK. And top French journalist Julien Laurent, I'm delighted to say, is with us here in studio. So France, Julien, tonight, Sweden. What threat does Sweden pose to you?
So I think the system that Graham Potter is playing with the back five, and then trying to kind of shoehorn a bit Gyökeres and Elanga and Isak in the front three, that really, I'm not sure works that well, or certainly could work a bit better. But you know exactly that if you give a bit too much to Isak, I think it could cause problem. Same with Elanga on the right-hand side. And that's where I think the key for me from a Sweden point of view, and by the way, we can discuss the fact that Sweden deserve to be here or not in this World Cup, considering how bad the qualifying games were. They didn't win a single one. They had 2 draws and everything else was defeat, and they went through the back door with the Nations League, etc. Anyway, they're here now. They finished third in a tough group with Japan and Netherlands, but now they're here. But the left-hand side on the French side defensively with Digne, who will play today, has struggled a little bit through this tournament. So maybe Elanga against Digne is a key that Sweden will have to exploit. Elanga has been good in this World Cup. Like I said, the French left-backs haven't been great, so maybe there's something there, especially with William Saliba also not fully fit, and that's a problem. He's got those back problems that he had since the end of the season with Arsenal. He's playing through the pain. He will need a big rest once this World Cup is over, but he wanted to play the World Cup. He's here now, but he's not 100% either.
And of course, Martin, we can't talk about Sweden without talking about Victor Gyökeres.
Yeah.
Doubts still surround his standing at Arsenal as to where is he at your club. But how does he compare as an international player in a Sweden shirt?
I think he started this tournament well. They won their first game 5-1 and lost their second game 5-1. So Sweden, I think you're quite right. They're trying to shoehorn two strikers into this system. It probably works better with a back three because you can have two strikers. You have to be confident though.
Yeah,
because if you look at Lindelof, an aging defender at the back, you're going to want to get around him, get after him.
Yeah.
So I think France comfortably win this game, but Isak, you're quite right. When you've got pace around you on the pitch, I mean, there's two great central defenders there for France with lots of pace. But when you've got that kind of, he's done nothing in this season since all that money was spent on him from Liverpool. When he went from Liverpool to Newcastle, it was a belated journey that he was on.
Yeah.
It might be this is the evening he'll be looking at it thinking, do you know what, I could turn my season around, and Gyökeres, gets her bag full gets a few goals as well. But I see the French being totally dominant.
I mean, the sensible money, Simon, is on the French, surely.
Oh, very much so.
Surely.
I mean, look at the quality of this team. I mean, as much as it will rankle with English fans that, we talk about a nation like the French with such reverence, but look at the quality of this team. Look at the quality of their forward play. Look at it across the pitch. The only thing that can really stop the French is a bit of bad luck and themselves.
Yeah. I think Deschamps is maybe the perfect manager. He gets criticism for being pragmatic, but he's they called him the water carrier. Should be the champagne
when he was
carrier.
A player, when he was a player.
Yeah, but I just think he just creates a calmness and keeps people. Okay, he's ambitious. He's been part of a very successful team himself.
Yeah.
He's managed to do that. I wonder does it change a little bit when Zidane comes in because he's a lot more flamboyant, isn't he?
Yeah,
Still successful.
we see.
But this might be the period for you to really do something special this year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if it was a third final in a row, which only two teams have done in the history of the World Cups before, and not always to great effect, but Brazil and Germany being the three that did it, I think will mean something very special, especially for Deschamps' last ever tournament before he passes the team on to Zidane. Deschamps has been great. Pragmatic, not so much. Conservative, for sure, and sometimes too much. We talked at the Euros, I remember 2 years ago when I came on the show, how bad this team was. Playing style, despite reaching the semi-finals and losing to Spain, the eventual winners, but the football was horrendous. And I think he didn't really like the criticism at the time, which was a deserved criticism for a team that had so much talent and yet was playing the worst football of all of those big teams at the Euros. And I think he thought, okay, this is the last tournament, let's play with a bit more flair because we have the players for it. He changed the system from the 4-3-3 to the 4-2-3-1 for that, to accommodate Dembele and Olise, Doué or Barcola and Mbappe too.
He's become more flexible?
No, it's not much to that. Without attacking talent, it would be really criminal to play 4-3-3 and taking one of that front four away from your team.
Yeah.
However, if we get to the semi-final against the top team, I wouldn't put it past Deschamps to go back to that defensive mindset. But he's been great. He's a very special coach, I think, because even if you don't like the style, his man management is outstanding.
Yeah. You're going to join us the other side of the top of the hour, Julian. Fast forward for me as you board your flight out of the US after this whole thing is all over. Where in your mind's eye will Mbappe end up compared to Haaland, Kane, Messi, Ronaldo?
I mean, it depends how many more goals he scored, but I think so far, between the goals that we saw in the first two games, the assists that we saw in the third game, he's on a mission. I think he prepared himself for this. He had an up and down season with Real Madrid. We mentioned that the last time I was with you. But the World Cup is his obsession, really, since a very young age.
More defiant in his goals? Like their actions are like, look, but I think don't forget me.
Yeah, he always had that. Anyway, he's the big star. He's our captain. He's everything. Really, he's a potential Ballon d'Or winner if France win this World Cup, and he shines. And I think his mentality has changed a bit. He wants to help the team a bit more. He wants to run a bit more.
Does he divide opinion? Because he would have been carried out of PSG without a wave of French love for him.
Yeah, sure.
PSG have become a far better team since the circus left the town with Mbappe and Neymar and whatever else. So when Martin made the observation about players that are sort of not supported by... The French are the same. When you've got a player that acts up and doesn't do what they think he should do, they give their opinion, don't they?
Yeah, completely. And I think he's trying to also win the country back by being at his best in terms of level on the pitch, but behaviour off the pitch and on the pitch as well in this World Cup.
Okay, well, France against Sweden at 10 o'clock tonight for you back in the UK. It's live from New Jersey from the MetLife Stadium. We are live on talkSPORT. And remember, spend £50 with Toolstation Club to score a reward stamp for a chance to win a holiday worth £10,000. We're in partnership with Toolstation at this World Cup, and we're live from New York.
Tuchel wants a different profile. What
do you think?
Something.
What do you
it
think?
doesn't matter what I think.
No, it does, Jim.
No, it doesn't matter what I think.
I'd like to know what you think. Do you think that Quansah is a better option than Trent?
He's a better option for Tuchel.
But do you think
because how Tuchel wants to play? He plays.
I know, but I want to know what your opinion is.
No, but
what's your opinion?
I have a different tactic. I would have wanted to play maybe a little bit different.
What would you?
But that's why I'm sitting here with you, and Tuchel is there in America.
I know, but because we can't get to him, we can't get to you. What would you do? Do you think it's the right thing to do or not?
For Tuchel, it's the right thing to do.
For you?
For me, I would have maybe gone with somebody else, but that is me.
Who'd you go?
I would have want to know. I would have want to talk to Tuchel and understand where he's coming from, and then I would say, okay, yeah, I understand, and yeah, Quansah is the
on paper, you think it's wrong, as I do.
No, but football isn't played on paper.
No, I know, but
and that's where we go wrong.
I know, but
that's where because there are so many more things.
No, but here's the
comes
thing,
with it. There are so many more things come with it.
We get you in the studio like we do all ex-pros to get their opinion, right?
I'm giving you my opinion.
I want to learn from you.
Yeah.
So do you think that was right or wrong to put Quansah over Trent?
I think that is the wrong question.
Well, okay, what should I ask you to get your opinion?
Because we need to know the tactical side of Tuchel first. And it looks like from outside in that he wants out and out. Hold on, he wants out and out defenders there. He wants them four to defend. He wants defenders first. That's what it looks like. I don't know, but that's what it looks like. And maybe that's why Trent is not there, because the best thing of Trent is going forward.
Talk Sport.
2 minutes past 3, good afternoon. We understand Jed Spence will start at right back tomorrow against DR Congo as Jarell Quansah and Reece James continue to nurse injuries. Ollie Watkins has been speaking to talkSPORT. He says he has sympathy for England fans, finding the game so far quite a tough watch.
When teams are always low block and you see sometimes it takes 70, 80 minutes to break teams down, and then once you do, the goals start flowing because they come out. But I know it's frustrating to watch, and as a supporter, I think just be patient.
Meanwhile, regarding the Germans, the call from many is clear. Nagelsmann out, honorary Scouser in.
Jurgen Klopp has to come in, 59 years old, right? He doesn't want to coach a club team anymore. Just how he rescued Borussia Dortmund after they were on the verge of bankruptcy, and just how he revitalized Liverpool when he came in. Now, final chapter, just revitalize Germany, please.
German football journalist Konstantin Eckner there. Tonight it's the turn of the favourites, France, and their all-star cast of world-class attacking wizards. Emanuel Petit knows what it takes to win the biggest prize in the French shirt and says this squad has the talent and the mettle to go the distance.
Having the best side, on paper is one thing. So showing that you are the best side on the pitch is something different. But I think we have the personality and the character to show it on the pitch.
France versus Sweden is at 10 p.m. It follows Ivory Coast versus Norway live on talkSPORT at 6. And at Wimbledon, Katie Boulter has joined the list of 13 Brits to crash out in round 1. She lost in straight sets to 18-year-old Tyra Grant. However, one Brit has gone through. Katie Swan, the British number 6, has beaten Romania's Irina Camila Begu 6-4, 6-4 to be the first home player through to round 2.
talkSPORT News.
Former Labour Defence Secretary says the PM hasn't been strong enough on the defence investment plan. And Health Secretary James Murray says a review into England's maternity care has to be a watershed moment. Emma has more at past.
Ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand.
Good afternoon, UK. You're joining us live from New York, and if you're watching live on YouTube, you are looking at the venue for tonight's match between Kylian Mbappe and France up against Sweden, the MetLife Stadium, New Jersey, on the outskirts of this great city, New York. And we are live this Tuesday afternoon with you back in the UK, live this morning, just gone 10 o'clock in the morning back here with us. Some tremendous football on the horizon again at these World Cup finals. Myself and Martin Keown had a very nice Mexican meal last night. We enjoyed it thoroughly. I'm seeing over producer Luke Shoulder, Rob Mahone from Dublin. In charge of a Mexican restaurant, but that is what we've got here in New York. Julien Laurent is alongside Arsenal Invincible, Mr. Keown, and my own Simon Jordan here. Interesting bit of news coming out of London this Tuesday afternoon. Martin, what's your take on this? And you, Julien. Antonin Kinski, the young goalkeeper with Tottenham, has just signed a new long-term deal with Tottenham Hotspur. So he stays in the long term. And you might not put much money on that when he was hooked so early in that game at Atletico Madrid.
He did well, didn't he, to finish off the season so well, to help to keep Spurs up, which was incredible to see, wasn't it? They nearly went down, of course. But to be taken off the pitch in the manner that he did, in that Atletico Madrid game.
How about a bit of resilience? It just shows you what a load of old crap 90% of the pundits talked about. That's the end of his career. He's doomed.
So, you know what? I know we'd like
And what did he do? He showed a bit of backbone in society.
If we took you off the show, off air, after 10 minutes,
please.
after one of yours,
on the shows that you're on, please.
After one of your silly comments.
That's not a sanction. That's a reward.
What would happen? You'd never recover.
That's a reward.
Martin Keown has just described our dream here in New York. That
let's put him on a window cleaning job.
Like Kinski in Madrid, Simon is hooked.
Get a shepherd's crook and hook me off every time Keown comes on. I'll run for it.
Julian, journalistically, how do you look at it? Because he's not wrong here. A lot of people said, "Oh, that's the end of that kid."
Yeah. But there's far more to that than to a career. You know, a lot of those players have gone through difficult times,
Exactly.
and if you can't recover from it, as difficult as this was and brutal, sure, fair enough.
Yes. Julian, what I'm sniggering at is Simon saying, have a bit of resilience. And only an hour ago, when he saw the window cleaners outside the 50th floor cleaning the window, said, "Oh, I couldn't do that. Look down. Look at that. The stomach going. I couldn't do
if
that."
I was a window cleaner and I couldn't clean windows, then I'd have something to say about it.
You get out there in the trolley with these guys tomorrow.
No, I don't want to do that, but I wouldn't put myself in the way of that. If you're a professional footballer and you have to show some resilience in the space that you're in, then what's wrong with that? Too many people make.
He wasn't allowed to show it, though, was he? Because the manager took him off.
Because he was useless and he got pulled.
Yeah, but
he made some horrendous mistakes.
But nonetheless, he came back. He came back.
And back he came.
Yeah, of course.
But this society, which all of us, it'll hurt his mental health. No, it won't. He'll get some character and he'll build some substance and he'll be better for it. And guess what? That's exactly what he was.
There you go.
He will be the starter next season. That's why he's got
Exactly. Well done, young Kinski.
So more of that.
They will sell Vicario, and he'll be the number one.
There it is. He powered his way through it. Well done, Kinski boy.
Player welfare.
A new long-term deal with him at Tottenham. Here's the thing. Liverpool fans were getting somewhat excited, Julien, when Ivory Coast winger Yan Diomande looked set to be heading to Anfield. Now he's looking set to snub Liverpool and head to your boys at PSG.
Yeah.
Barcola, in the meantime, as Alex Crook suggested yesterday, is now being heavily linked with Liverpool. What's happened in the process there?
Yeah, it's really interesting because obviously both Barcola and Diomande are here at the World Cup with Ivory Coast and France and very much focused on that. The agents and the agencies are doing the work back in Europe. I mean, Diomande's agent was here in New York not that long ago, same with Barcola's agent. So all of this is happening while the World Cup is taking on. I think for Diomande, I'm not sure if Liverpool were ready to put the money that Leipzig wanted on the table to start with. And by the way, Liverpool might not want to put the money that PSG might ask for Barcola, who right now they're saying he's not for sale, we want to keep Barcola. At some point, somebody will have to go from this PSG team, other than Gonzalo Ramos and Kangin Lee, who are already on their way out. But for Barcola, it's interesting because the Liverpool valuation will be very different to the PSG valuation and probably to the market valuation of the player too. So let's see if they can find an agreement somewhere. And if Barcola wants to go to Liverpool too, but I think it would be great for the Premier League. And Diomande would be great for PSG.
It's a show of strength from PSG, isn't it? When you think they're the champions of Europe and they're ready to go and take another winger, Jim. It's quite frightening. I'm just wondering whether there'll be a casualty. One of those wingers
it should really
ends up somewhere else.
Yeah, probably, and that one will be Barcola. I think they want to keep doing Kvaratskhelia, obviously. What is crazy, I think, in this market this summer is that Gonzalo Ramos is leaving PSG for AC Milan, who have no money, for up to 80 million euros, which is a silly amount of money for a good player, but somebody who scored 6 goals last season in all competitions. And I mean, Sai, you've been in that position where I understand what PSG were asking for, but Milan didn't have to give that money, and yet they did. And that is, in a way, disturbing the whole market, because if you start selling players for that kind of money or buying players for that kind of money who definitely don't deserve that kind of money, then I think the rest of the market will be
skewed.
Distorted. Yeah, skewed, exactly the right word.
Julian, I want to put this to you. After successive Champions League titles, the foundation's now very much in place at PSG to create almost a Real Madrid-style dynasty.
I think we see it was very difficult to go back-to-back, as we said before. And, you know, apart from the Real Madrid team of Zidane, who did 3 in a row, the last team to have done that was Milan and the Sacchi back in 89 and 90. So it's a very long time ago, to show you how difficult that neither Pep Guardiola with Barcelona or Man City could do it, for example, or not the great Bayern team could do it. And yet PSG did it. And I think the players are young enough to be able to probably put, maybe not winning 3 times in a row, but to be around there for the next 4 or 5 years, especially if then they keep recruiting players like Diomande, players like, you know, they really like somebody like Akliouche, for example, from Monaco, who's a very good high ceiling potential player. They like Junior Kroupi, Eli Junior Kroupi at Bournemouth. So they will still have that investment coming through as well, which I think makes them even stronger.
Enrique's important, though, isn't he, the manager there?
Yeah, very much.
You know, he's frightened.
He's about to sign a new deal.
I mean, what was interesting was this club was only formed, Jim, in 1971.
He was there before. They just merged to
it's
what
crazy.
we know now.
It's crazy what they've achieved in that short space
of time.
But
I mean, they haven't. This overnight success of Nasser's ownership is not an overnight success at all. It's a change of direction from what they did previously. I mean, it's an interesting landscape for them, and we'll see if they can continue to dominate the way they've dominated previously. But like everything else, everyone has a challenge. And PSG playing in the French league, it's curious to see. I wonder how It's interesting they've won the European Cup or the Champions League as the Champions League has changed its formats. Because let's look at it, the first season that they would have, with the Swiss format, they were fortunate to get out of the group stages. And then they got themselves in a situation where they excelled. They're a brilliant team. But nobody dominates forever. And it's incumbent upon the opposite. It'd be fascinating to see what Madrid do with Mourinho and how he reinvigorates himself to be able to deal with these difficult players that apparently he's been brought in to handle. But it'll be, you know, I don't think PSG, like any other side, are going to dominate European football. I think someone else will come out of the ether, whether it's an English side, whether it's the Spanish sides reasserting themselves. But what you have seen, and I've always been very critical of PSG, despite the friendship with Nasser, about them being a Fabergé egg, you know, all style on the outside with no substance in the middle. That's not the case anymore. And that's because they brought in a manager in Enrique that changed the direction of travel and said, this dressing room is not bigger than me.
Yeah.
I'm bigger than this dressing room.
Yeah, 100%. But I think he's saying as well now, I need to buy new players because we've pretty well got the same group of players. We only changed the goalkeeper effectively.
Yeah.
He went out the door. It's the same group of players. If we don't, make it, even though they're all young, Jim,
sure,
we need to bring new players in. So this is a massive sign.
Yeah. Julian, England expected to progress. Although DR Congo will be a challenge, of that there is no doubt. Tomorrow, 5 o'clock, it's live UK time on talkSPORT. But in terms of you're France's nearest contenders for this thing out here, do England fit that bill?
Yeah, I think so. I think so with Argentina. I mean, Argentina right now, because of the way this team plays and the form that Messi is in, their pathway towards the semi-final, certainly, which is... that's what happens with draws and best third places, etc. But Argentina have been lucky with who they will face between now and the semi-final, and then it could be England or Brazil. One of those teams surely will be there against Argentina, and then we will see. But I think England will go from strength to strength now, and I think they will get better against better team too than what we've seen so far. Although Congo will play like against Ghana. It would be a back five, really low block. They'd be very strong, very physical, very hard to break down. And if England don't score early, we will have a very similar game than we had against Ghana. So Tuchel this time will have to find solutions on how to break down this team. But I expect England to be at least in the semi-final.
Julian, we were pulling your leg a little bit about the French being arrogant and you strutting in there with...
Well, no, which we are, to be fair, but this is not...
Is there, the little English team now, is there anybody you take or a compartment of the team that you'd swap from your team?
So if we do a combined 11 of this current team and the French team?
Do you think the midfield, the French midfield, I'm looking, is it comparable? Is Bellingham a better player? Is Rice?
I would have Rice certainly in there with a true...
So our midfield is better than your midfield?
I would not say... I think Rice is world class. So I would take Rice. I would take Reece James at right back for sure.
What about your left back, Luca Dean?
So yeah, Dean and Theo, I'm not sure if O'Reilly is a very different profile of players. I'm not sure if he's that much better or Jed Spence either. So I think this is also...
So there's weaknesses in this French team then?
Yeah. On for me, the two fullbacks are the weakest link in this French team.
He's trying to box you into a corner, isn't he?
Yeah,
admit it, Monsieur Laurent. There are weaknesses in this French team.
But there are weaknesses in every team, even in this England team.
You will divide and conquer.
I will say this only once.
I love it. Julien, merci bien.
Merci beaucoup.
Good luck, bon chance tonight against Sweden. I don't think you're going to need it. I think you're going to get there in the end, and we'll watch thereafter what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
It's live in talkSPORT tonight. France, Julian's France up against Graham Potter's Sweden. We'll see how that goes. We're seeing how this goes. All of a sudden, it's 3:15 with you at home. 10:15 in the morning here in New York. We're live in talkSPORT. Simon has been saying what he means and means what he says, as always. And such was the case just a few days ago when we got onto the topic of, Erling Haaland.
Who would you rather play for your nation out of the two of them? Mbappe or Haaland? Who would you get?
Well, given I think that Haaland's a rude, unpleasant little toad, I would go down the route of Mbappe.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Because of the one occasion in Spain when he's playing paddle tennis, Stuart, and he's sitting there with Alpha Inga Haaland, and he thought, and Erling comes over and says to Simon, "You must stop taking my photograph." He wasn't. I mean, you get your beef up. You were saying, "I'm not trying to photograph you." He thought your phone was out and you were trying to have a picture of him.
With the risk of name dropping, I was playing paddle on a court next to that little twit.
So you were taking his picture.
No, I weren't, mate.
Simon, I love that. So I'm playing paddle tennis.
But it's true.
Well, after that, news got through to Erling Haaland out here in the US, and he has responded on Instagram with a laughing face emoji saying, don't know what that little twit toad means, but I'll take that from him. There you go. Your reputation goes before you. Erling's on it.
Well, clearly he recognises the errors of his ways. I'll accept that as an apology.
You actually were not on that day trying to photograph Erling as he's in mid-paddle tennis.
No. If anyone knows, for what this is worth, anything about me, the last thing I want is to take pictures of footballers.
To be honest, Haaland himself has made news out here, but he tells us himself that he can walk around New York City completely unnoticed. That is part of this place, Martin. I'm not so sure that it would be the same for Beckham walking down there, down in these streets in New York. But for Erling, it's an unusual set of circumstances, and he appears to be loving it over here.
Yeah, a freedom. You know, he can walk the streets, you know, and of course he's here to make his mark. I'm pretty certain by the time the World Cup finishes, though, most people around the world are going to know him because he's an outstanding talent in front of goal.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. Alongside us, Arsenal Invincible Martin Keown. We're live on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation. Another lovely day in this part of the world. And the football's going to be lovely tonight, not least with the French going in against Sweden. We'll see who comes out on top of that. We very much go with developing stories on this show. As you know, back home in London, Simon and myself, in the morning, Central 1 over here. We have a different time slot, of course, to accommodate a slot back in England, back in the UK, 1 till 4 in the afternoon. What I'm trying to tell you is yesterday, we went with the breaking news regards Enzo Maresca joining Manchester City as a new head coach on a 3-year deal. And we accommodated that with the City statement, with the Chelsea statement, with a statement from Maresca himself. And in a roundabout way, it stopped us from paying a bit of attention to what happened on the cricket field over the weekend. And this involved the captain, Ben Stokes. And on Sunday, virtually in the middle of the game on Sunday, a test match which England went on to lose to New Zealand just yesterday. On Sunday, Ben Stokes somewhat surprised everyone, not just at the cricket ground itself at Trent Bridge, but in the cricket world, when he decided to say, that's it from me, it's retirement. This was Stokes.
There's something that I know is going to happen over the next 2 days, which is going to be this is my last 2 days as your captain, and my last 2 days as representing England. Reasons can wait. Why? But I've had many trips to the well before for this team, for you blokes, for people beforehand, and I've got one more trip to do.
So that was it. As far as Stokes was concerned, that was it for him. It was the end of his international cricket career, if you like. And he said, thanks for everything, but I'm out of here. And of course, the news came after an ECB investigation found that Stokes and Gus Atkinson had breached contractual obligations, but were blameless for violent conduct in a London nightclub just a few days before. That involved some of the Saracens players, one of them in particular. And of course, it came about during allegations of a drinking culture at the recent Ashes, which England lost. A new curfew was brought in for the team, and yet that curfew was breached in the nightclub incident by Stokes himself. And on top of all that, it was reported that Stokes' retirement was triggered by a combination of a lack of fire left for the job and a strained relationship between him and the ECB. The ECB board and senior officials understood to have been angered about Stokes being involved in the nightclub incident so soon after the drinking culture accusations in the Winter Ashes. So it all adds up to him going from the international scene. Simon and Martin, you can come in if this, of course you can. Has Stokes left international cricket under a cloud?
Well, inevitably, because there is this observation about the issue of his behaviour breaching curfew. We can debate the validity of a curfew of grown men, grown athletes being told to behave in a certain way, and we can debate that whether that should be the case or not. Some would say it shouldn't be. If you've accepted the curfew, you should perhaps adhere to it, certainly as the leader. I would suspect that the reasons why they re-established him as captain is because they might well have known that he was going to finish this series and it was be his last as captain, so what is the point of diminishing him in the eyes of the cricket fans and the sporting fans that admire his achievements over the period of time that he's been captain? I made the point about weakening inside and diminishing the opportunity to be good at something by trying to perform optics for the benefit of people that have never run cricket teams or ever been in sporting environments themselves, but want a standard held without understanding what that standard really looks like to the other players in the dressing room. So to answer your question, look, when we talk about these things like it is understood that his relationship with the ECB has been strained, people are briefing that in. And that's because we understand it from people that have a motivation for briefing it in.
Yeah.
So it might not be the exact scenarios. So I look at it and say, I think as a whole, I think he's been a very good captain. I think there have been times during that period with McCallum where the team has excited and ignited people behind the sport of cricket and changed the way it gets played. It's come up short against the Australians. They made fools of themselves by the robustness of their position. I didn't disagree with what they said about all these ex-England players popping up with their two penn'orth of advice of how to go win the Ashes when none of them had won the Ashes in Australia, and talking about how the preparation should be this and preparation should be that. And none of these buggers that popped up, despite being wonderful cricketers, had actually been part of an England team that won an Ashes. But I did think that the England's response to it, which was a bunch of has-beens should not be giving us advice, was ill-advised, because then you get the outcome. If you don't win, there you get people a bloodletting.
But we're losing one of our top cricketers, aren't we? So
well, he's right, of course.
It's difficult for me because I don't know the whole facts, but is Ben Stokes walking because he doesn't feel he's been completely supported in this situation?
Well, that's the... I mean, look...
he's understood, Martin, to have been angry about how the incident was handled by the governing body, and he believed there were some within the ECB who had been briefing against him.
Yeah, so he'd had a few misdemeanours in the past, and was it one of those, OK, if anything happens again, then you'll have to step down as captain? Is that what they were saying?
But there's a whole raft of, Martin, there's a whole raft of mixed messages. We had Brendan McCallum almost inexplicably coming out and talking about Ben Stokes' mental well-being, which doesn't seem to have played any conversational piece between him and the ECB because they reinserted him as captain. They took him out of the second test, they destabilised the team, they destabilised the series, and ultimately we end up losing that test and the next test and losing the series. So with all this playing to the gallery of this awful set of behaviours that supposedly Ben Stokes and his little mate got involved in terms of being outside a curfew. Who knows whether Ben Stokes, as the captain of England, pushed back against the notion they needed a curfew and accepted it reluctantly. We don't know if that's the case. We think that Ben Stokes was part of the intellectual capital behind having a curfew. I bet he bloody wasn't.
Yeah, but if he was being told, look, you can stay as a player, but you'll lose the captaincy because...
No, he wouldn't be being told that.
No?
No, he wouldn't be.
You don't believe that?
I don't think that's the case. I think...
Looks like that to me.
Well, it might do, and he might be right.
By the way, when you're in that situation, you're out with the players and you're in charge, it's very difficult to get a group of grown men out of a
But it wasn't a group of grown men. It was him and one other. And he was the captain, and they had just won a game, and he had elected to go out and put himself in the way of something that they had nothing... They didn't do anything incorrect.
What I do recall is this. When Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was stripped of the captaincy at Arsenal by Arteta, you, Martin, said, oh, I'm not sure about that because it's going to harm the team.
Yeah.
And you, Simon, disagreed because, no, Aubameyang maybe at that particular time isn't doing anybody any good at Arsenal, and maybe it's the best thing that Arteta did what he did. And yet, When Stokes did what he did and is stripped of the captaincy, you said, well, they've got to be careful here because he's very important to the team.
Because I think... So he slated me and now he's
No,
raising the same
I think Stokes...
So what's the difference here?
Well, I'll tell you what I think the difference is here. I think Stokes makes the team better. I didn't think Aubameyang did. I think the whole culture of his attitude and the whole way that he approached the situation has proven to be the case.
That's a different argument.
The moment he went to Barcelona, I told you he'd score a few goals and then he'd fall off a cliff again. Because I think he's that kind of player. I think as a player, and his example throughout his career was to operate in a certain way. And I'm looking at it going through the optics.
Stokes not the same.
Well, my argument was, be careful how you cut things away. If you make the team worse, right, what's the purpose of this? Aubameyang getting the bin did not make the team worse. The team got better. So my argument was, unless you are sure...
Over a long term,
No, over a very short period of time.
No, the instantaneous... didn't qualify for the Champions League that season.
No, because they were already chasing after their tails.
Barcelona, we went there and scored copious amounts of goals.
But we all knew he was going to do that in 5 minutes.
You backed Arteta because Aubameyang's position might have led to falling standards, and Arteta didn't want that.
No, I thought
Stokes' position and his behaviour, maybe in the eyes of a few at the ECB, has led to falling standards. And now Stokes has come out and said, that's it from me, it's over. So see, there's either consistency in this or there's not. I'm
not necessarily sure I agree with the idea that they led to falling standards. They came up short against the Australians because they played a brand of cricket that they weren't good enough to sustain. We are conflating...
It's about upholding standards, or Simon,
yes,
isn't it? Upholding them.
No, it's about winning cricket matches. It's about being good at what you do. It's about ensuring that underpinning what you do has some substance behind it. I looked at my view of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, excuse the language but understand the meaning, is I thought he was a slob. I thought he was a terrible influence inside the dressing room, and I thought he had no leadership qualities about him whatsoever.
How would you describe Stokes' behaviour on a night out?
I think, well, first and foremost, I don't think his behaviour on the night out was the thing that was in question. It was about breaching a curfew and making a bad judgment call. So they're different things.
But was Stokes upholding standards as the captain?
I think you can argue that breaching a curfew brings you into a situation where you're not beyond reproach.
That's a no, though, isn't it?
Not really.
Upholding standards. If you break a curfew in a night out,
but
you're the captain,
I would say you're
not leading by example.
I would say the culture, with respect to footballers and cricket, is very different. I think the culture of a football
Should it be different? Is it time now for alcohol to disappear from the cricket?
Well, yes, I think so. Absolutely. But that's not.
Is that not the problem?
But no one was suggesting he was drinking in this instance. They were suggesting that ultimately what happened was a rugby player who was minding his business picked a fight with Gus Atkinson, and he was there trying to insulate the player from this, and there was a security officer that got hit. No one's talking about his behaviour. What they're doing is questioning his judgment about being in an environment.
Yeah. But there's said to be a drinking culture, Simon, at the recent Ashes.
Yeah, but what someone says and
he was captain.
But what someone says and what people do doesn't necessarily correlate. We sat here with journalists the other day saying he's definitely going to be not made captain again, and back he came in as captain.
Is he a scapegoat for that? Because if they're allowed to go and drink, then everybody will drink, Jim. So from above, they need to say, OK, do you know the optics now for cricket? Look, ironically, there was a rugby player there and there was a cricketer. There wasn't a footballer there. You know, years ago, there might well have been a footballer but that's been cleaned up.
We've never seen cricketers or athletes as fit as they are now in terms of physicality. But do you equate supreme athleticism with drinking? Of course you don't. You wouldn't see Usain Bolt drinking a yard of ale before he ran 100 metres, would you?
What an image. I love it. We're live in New York, and we're here with Tool Station. Stay with us. We're back after this.
Just how good is this Netherlands side? Because on paper, you look at some of the players in the squad, the likes of Van Dijk, De Jong, Gravenberch. You've got players, experienced players playing at top clubs. But yet again, they've gone out of another major tournament. Are the Netherlands team that strong? Or did you expect this, or this was going to come?
The thing is, like, this is a good question from you. Why? Because we also have to make our team strong. Like, if you're going to play, if you change the system, you know, like, look, if you play a whole new system with a team and with the individuals that are not used to playing like that, it's always going to be a change for them. Okay, then you play three at the back, you know, three in the middle of the park and then two wing backs. Okay, Dumfries, easy for him. But for you know, Van der Ven, it's different because he's a centre half, plays at Spurs in the centre of the, you know, the defensive line, and then he plays on the left hand side. He's not a wing back. He's not going to dribble. He's got the speed, but his speed is something that comes later. It's not like a starting. Then you play in the middle of the pitch. You play two players. They are very good when they have the ball. But now I can ask you a question. What happens with those two players when we don't have the ball? And that's exactly how the Moroccans hurt us.
Mario, my question is simple. What's next for Netherlands?
For the Netherlands, what is next? You know, like Koeman, I don't know, like, because of the personal situation and his family situation, I don't want to go deep into it, but I think he might make a decision and say, like, hey, this might come to my time. I did it twice, and so we have to wait for his decision. He will make it and tell us. Away from that, I don't see, look, now I think the Holland team, you have to focus on, like, you miss some penalties. Some other guys are going to, you know, feel hurt. They got to pick them back up and get the guys back on their feet. That's
When you think about some of the stadiums that have hosted games in the World Cup, sometimes it's hard not to be completely overawed. But what's the biggest? One thing we have to be clear about is that older stadiums will have had higher capacities when it was standing only. A good example of this is the old Wembley. For the final in '66, the capacity was 125,000. But that was later reduced to 100 when it was converted into an all-seater in 1990. Another example is this, Mexico City's Estadio Azteca. Back in '86, it's estimated around 115,000 people watched Argentina beat West Germany to win their second World Cup. Essential modernisation so it could be used in the 2026 tournament reduced it to 83,000. You can't talk about old stadiums with high capacities without mentioning Brazil's Maracanã. Some say the jewel in football's crown. In the 2014 World Cup, its capacity stood at just under 79,000. But back in 1950, well, it wasn't official, but estimates believe 210,000 people came to this place for a winner-takes-all match between Brazil and Uruguay. That's still the world record attendance for a live football match, and let's be honest, it's not likely to be beaten anytime soon.
In the morning here, 3:30 in the afternoon with you back home. Let's concentrate on back home and get an update on the situation at Wimbledon. What are we thinking this lunchtime? Lisa, what have you got for us?
And then there were two. Arthur Ferry has come from behind to become the second British player into the second round this year. Don't forget, we've had 11 go straight out, more than that today. But he has scored a 3-1 win over Damit Juma. Katie Swan was the early winner. The news keeps getting better. Jacob Fernley's battled into a fifth set decider in his first round match. He was 2-love down to Alex Mickelson of the USA. Toby Samuel has taken the first set off 15th seed Jakub Mensic, and Billy Harris leads the second set 3-1 against Karen Hashinoff, who won the first. Here on centre court, an absolute gripping deciding set. Taylor Townsend taking on the reigning champ Iga Swiatek is on serve 3-4 in the third.
Lisa, thank you very much indeed. It's time for this.
Football form roundup on talkSPORT with Sky Bet. The world's gone football. Get in on it with Sky Bet. 18+, gambleaware.org.
And Ross Williams from Sky Bet joins us at this particular stage in the proceedings. Ross, hi to you, my friend. Yesterday, the day of the underdog, right?
Yeah, good afternoon, Jim. Certainly was. Yeah, massive day, wasn't it? Massive day. Paraguay in particular. I think most people give Morocco a pretty good shout against the Netherlands, but particularly Paraguay. They were 5-1 to qualify last night, and obviously did so in some style. Remarkably, Sky Bet customers, 4 of them, they backed double at 230-1 for both Paraguay and Morocco to progress on spot kicks, which is a pretty remarkable bet. Couldn't quite believe it myself when I saw this morning. You can imagine the emotions as they were watching that Morocco shootout in particular, which wasn't straightforward either, was it? Paraguay's win, in particular, it's had a pretty tangible effect on the markets as well. France now 5-2 to win the tournament, and that's as short as they've been at any point due to their route to the final just opening up a little bit based on yesterday.
Okay, what about today then? What are you thinking, Ross?
Yeah, I guess some people will be thinking, can it happen again? Is there some more underdog stories to find? A few teams will be on notice. Obviously, got 3 games in the next 12 hours or so. Ivory Coast, first and foremost, they're 5-2 to win in 90 minutes against Norway, 11-8 to qualify. You know, you'd expect Norway to be the better side on paper, but they are a little bit untested on this stage, of course, at the World Cup. Sweden, they're 10-1 in normal time, 11-2 to qualify against the French. I mean, that's the tallest order of the day, in fairness, and it is a little bit difficult to see past that French side at the minute. But Ecuador going up against Mexico, they're 14-5 in normal time. They're 11-8 to qualify. There's a little bit of South American form so far in this tournament, isn't there? And of course, Ecuador, they beat Germany last time out. So that might be one to keep an eye out if you're after an underdog in today's games.
Okay, and where were we at with Mbappe Haaland?
Yeah, they've been pretty inseparable, I think, throughout the tournament, haven't they? With the draw, they've been poised to make an impact again today as well. Haaland, first and foremost, he's 23-10, first goal scorer for Norway, which is a feat he's achieved many, many times for his national team. We've also boosted him to 4-1 to score 2 goals inside 120 minutes. So even if it goes to extra time, you can get that at 4-1. Whereas Mbappe, he's 1-2 anytime due to his just inevitability in that French side. We make him 21-10, first goal scorer. And we've also boosted him to 10-1, if you want something a little bit juicier, to score a hat-trick inside 120 minutes as well. Obviously, that feat, that would put him level with Lionel Messi on the all-time World Cup goals list, and what a story that would be.
It would be indeed. Thank you, Ross. That was a look at the latest odds, all thanks to Sky Bet, 18+, gambleaware.org.
Football Form Roundup on talkSPORT with Sky Bet. Download the Sky Bet app and get in on it with Sky Bet. 18+, gambleaware.org.
No, Ecuador finished second.
Arsenal Invincible Martin Keown is with us, of course, here in New York. Before Martin flew in to this part of the world, Simon, you'll recall, some days ago, the streets below us here at the World Trade Center were filled with Knicks fans. The New York Knicks basketball team had won the NBA title for the first time in over 50 years. What that meant was it was very difficult for us to get from our respective hotels to the World Trade Center that morning, with a couple of million of them in the street, lining the streets. And I get into a sticky situation because I was threatened with jail, literally, after jumping a fence and trying to cross the road near here at the World Trade Center. But my bacon was well and truly saved by a senior New York policeman, a police lieutenant by the name of Vinny Gaizo, who stepped in. And as I was surrounded by Knicks fans who were suggesting that maybe jail should be next for me, Vinny pulled me out, took me down the street and escorted me around here to the World Trade Center. And I was very grateful to him in doing that. So much so that a couple of days ago, Vinny and I reunited in another part of this great city and shared a couple of burgers together. And we spoke about that moment when I was almost jail-bound and the World Cup in general. This is Vinny Gaizo in conversation with me.
We try and help as many people as possible. I mean, we're dealing with thousands of people, but I heard your story and I had to get you to the show on time.
Well, you did. He was none too happy. I thought I was possibly going not to the World Trade Center, but maybe to jail at one stage. I got a bit of a fright, but you helped me by walking me down that street. You got me there.
My pleasure. Like I said, you're a complete gentleman, and like I told you, I do have a little Scottish blood in me, so.
How did the rest of the day go for you with the Knicks fans?
Well, it wasn't bad. Very long day. You know, we had to move a lot of barriers and stuff, but it was fun because it's something that hasn't happened in such a long time, and I was actually glad to be there. And again, I'm glad to have met you, buddy.
For a fleeting moment, when I was appealing to you, Vinny, can you help me? Did it go through your mind at all that, no, I can't help you, and I'm not going to help you?
No, not really. Like I said, you were one of a good number of people who I tried to get to where they had to go. I told you I had a guy from Vancouver, and there's no way I was letting him not get in to see the parade after coming that far. So
you did your job well that day, and you've been a policeman in New York for 40 years.
Coming up next month will be 40 years. Yeah.
I mean, that is some amount of service on your part. You probably have too many experiences to go into, but how would you sum it up about what it's been like?
No, it's a great job. I'm blessed to be a part of, the greatest police department in the world, and I met so many people on and off the job who, friends for life, and I would never change a thing. I mean, before I came on a job, I worked for my dad. It was, the greatest boss in the world, the greatest man I ever knew. But I'm so thankful to be a part of the NYPD. What an unbelievable career! How on earth did you cope in that fateful day, 9/11? No, obviously, very tough day. It's a day that we've never experienced ever in this city. I mean, between all the firemen and the police we lost, and plus all the civilians in the two towers, it's just, I'm biased. I think we're in the greatest country in the world, and we survived it, and we show how strong we are. And here we are, 25 years later almost, and we're still standing strong. So, God bless the USA.
God bless the USA. He's quite a man, Simon, Vinny Geiso, who helped me that day, and he did. But in terms of service, you imagine working for the NYPD for 40 years.
He will have seen some changes. I lived over here 34 years ago, and when I come back here, I always see the changes. We hear a lot about law enforcement in this country, and that's the human side of it, where you see the police department interacting in a certain way. We get to hear a lot about, defunding the police in America and how they are. Brutality pervades their mentality, and how there is racial extremes in their outlook towards certain communities in this country. And then you meet the other side of it when you actually meet them. In my experience, you get to use them as bloody guides and tours around this town, because I've asked so many of them directions. So I think anyone that's been in a profession upholding the law in a very, very difficult city like New York City through a period of time, because whilst it's changed now, when you got Giuliani coming in 1992 or 3 or whenever it was, and he'd adopted this broken windows policy of changing the construct of this city, getting rid of the idea of low-level crime, and taking away the absolute den of iniquity that Times Square had become, and turning it into. So when you walk around this city, I don't know about you,
it's quite a police presence.
I feel safer in New York City than I do in London.
I mean, I know there's a World Cup on, and every World Cup we've been to, South Africa, Jim said it was going to be particularly dangerous there.
Yeah.
There is a policeman on virtually every corner here, and they are very approachable.
Yeah.
And there was a march on the other day. They wouldn't let you go anywhere, by the way, so they're very stern, but I think they're policing it well here.
Oh, he was
40 years. 40 years in one profession. What is what a wonderful thing to hear someone say something about their father the way he spoke about his. Which is the greatest man I've ever met is my father. Now, what a wonderful thing to say.
Oh, we had quite a conversation over a meal together, and he's an outstanding individual. Funnily enough, on that, Simon, he said 40 years with the NYPD. I said, well, you're looking at retirement, are you? No, I've got a bit more to offer yet, a bit more to give yet. Remember the name, Lieutenant Vinny Geiso. I certainly will. We're live in talkSPORT, and you're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan, and Martin Keown. We are live in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation.
Ronaldo is top, still top. But Haaland, for instance, is a better finisher.
Let me ask you this. In world football, I said this, Bentley, on yesterday's show, and I got a little bit of criticism. In his pomp, right? I'll ask you both. I'll start with Bentley.
I heard it.
I said R9 is a better finisher than Cristiano Ronaldo. He's a better striker, number 9.
Do you know what you said, right? And you said he was a better goal scorer.
Okay.
Right? Now, for me, R9 is a better centre forward. I don't think it's even close, right? But what people will do is look at the numbers. And this is where sometimes stats-wise, like the new generation will go, if I say R9's better than Ronaldo, Cristiano, they're going to go, are you crazy? He's got 1,000 goals. But sometimes it's not about just stats. It's about what does your eyes tell you. And anyone who's watched it, you would have watched him. R9 is the best centre forward I've ever seen.
R9 for me, that's my hero. You know, he is. That's why I wanted to become a striker. You look at him, and Ronaldo has done absolutely magnificent. Yeah, and Ronaldo, it's all about numbers and goal scoring. And he's obsessed with that. And that makes him so good. But R9 is just phenomenal. He's just incredible.
Better.
As a footballer. So
you
much
both
more
agree with
natural.
me on that.
Yeah, but you said, because the way you said goal scorer. Yeah. Now, you can't compare the numbers because Ronaldo's numbers are crazy.
You know what I mean? Like a better player.
He's a better player. Yeah. He's a better player. He's the things that he used to do, picking up the ball and dribbling, the goals that he scored for Barcelona. Oh my God! If he didn't injure himself with his knee
twice.
Oh my God!
So can I say, because they'll clip this and stick it out there, right? You're both saying, and you're.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
Boxing updates on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
New York, and it's a Tuesday morning, mid-morning. It's mid-afternoon with you back home in the UK. Statue of Liberty here, looking absolutely wonderful, as it does every single day. What a city this is. It's had a big, left us all with a fantastic and different impression, maybe to the one that you had before you came here. This is a truly wonderful city with wonderful people in it. And of course, for some, our memories will be better than others. If you're a Scotland fan, yeah, you had a great time here, but the team, it's fair to say, didn't live up to expectation. And Steve Clarke, the Scotland manager, has since quit following Scotland's elimination. So the same Steve Clarke has been opening up on his experience of managing the national side when he spoke on the Scottish FA channel. First up, this was Steve Clarke on why it was the right time to step away despite signing a new 4-year deal just last month.
What I wanted to make sure was that when I felt it was time to step away, it was time to step away. The contract before, signing the contract before, was a case of trying to give a little bit of comfort to the players, knowing that we're going in, knowing that we could continue the journey. I always had in my head that if we didn't come out of the group, which is something that we've tried to do across 3 tournaments now, I always had in my head that if that didn't happen, then it was probably the right time to step away. Obviously, if we'd managed to get that extra point and got out of the group, then I'd probably have stayed on and tried to do another tournament. I wanted to go to a major tournament with my country. I did that with the Euros. The first Euros was a little bit, not the Euros because it was COVID affected. The second Euros was great. The tournament didn't go as we wanted, but getting to Germany was fantastic. And my lifelong ambition was to do a World Cup with my country. I've done that. So, not a bad time to step aside.
He did do that, but now he has stepped aside. And Steve Clarke then went on to defend Scotland and their performances at this USA World Cup.
Brilliant. I said I was going to enjoy it. Coming out for the Haiti game with the Scotland fans there in their thousands, and my family in the stand was just the best moment. So that was good. The next two games were tough. We played difficult opponents, Morocco, Brazil. Both of them can go really deep in the tournament, and we competed with them. No matter what other people might say, we competed. Both games were competitive. The Brazil game, we allowed them to have the kind of game they wanted. They like to play on the counter-attack. They like big spaces. We gave them that. We conceded an early goal, but we showed a lot of character, and we played some good stuff. We didn't find the quality in the final third of the pitch, but I could maybe say that across the whole 7 years, where we've always been chasing and trying to find that quality in the final third of the pitch, and I hope my successor manages to do that.
So that was Steve Clarke after announcing that he was stepping down. Martin, what I found curious was he says signing a new contract was a sign of giving comfort to his players.
For him, and I think he's rebalanced really well there, and I thought he spoke really well. Obviously emotional at the end of the World Cup and didn't speak in that manner. He's always looked out for his players. That's the first step in management for him. Look out for the players. Yes, he signed a new contract to give them comfort, to make them feel that there's going to be... But if he didn't make the expectations that he'd set himself, he was always going to walk. And that's ultimately what he's done. He's looking at the positives. He talks about there what a great celebration it was with the Scottish fans.
But would you as a player need to be comforted by Clarke doing something like that?
I don't have a problem with it. You know, if it's all going well, you've had 2 qualifications back to back. You know, you believe in the manager. Yeah, I get it. It's a stable environment for the players going into a World Cup. Absolutely no problem. And if he wants to reverse out of that, he's happy to do it. I get it why he did it. But ultimately, he does it because he feels he's taken the club or the country as far as he possibly can.
Yeah. What was your take on what you heard there, Simon?
It probably provided the players with a solidity of thinking that we're all in it together, whatever the outcome is. Because if you've got a manager that potentially is out of contract at the end of the tournament, then he gets to sail away from the consequences of a good or bad tournament. So perhaps the optics, an expression I hate so much, but players like to see some stability, they like to know where they stand, and if the tournament is good or bad, they know that a coach is staying with them afterwards, so they'll be rewarded by the very nature of the relationship. I get the impression, despite the fact, you know, he's not particularly charismatic and doesn't light up the room, but not everyone does. I get the impression that when like John Terry had him as a coach at Chelsea, they talk about him in the most glowing terms, that he's a man of substance, a man of integrity, he looks after his players, he looks for his players and after his players. So to some extent, whilst there are bigger characters that sometimes eclipse the players, and sometimes that has its benefits, he was about... He will be, of course he's going to be disappointed. He will know that they could have done better. He will know that individual mistakes could have been eliminated. He will know that they could have put the Haitians to the sword a bit more. But he will stand in front of it knowing that that wonderful support coming out against the Haitians was something to behold, because it was for everybody. But he'll come away from this tournament with some regrets, I suspect, but he's not going to offer that up.
He did regret, didn't he, that they didn't create more in the final third, and that was an area that...
But he's pretty much saying, with slightly facetious tones, I hope my successor gets a better outcome. Well, he's not going to get a better outcome because the quality of the forward play at Scotland is miles off. Miles off. You can dress it however you want. Shankland and Shea Adams and whoever else they had up top are miles off it.
Yeah, but maybe the next manager plays McGinn in a more central position, and that might be better.
Oh, maybe.
There are adjustments that can be done.
Coulda, shoulda, Martin. How much has Clarke advanced his own managerial reputation, do you think? Going forward, what's next for him?
I don't know. I mean, people look at style now and they look at the way that people present themselves. A lot will carry from the media stuff that he's done here and hasn't done particularly well. People will criticise the team. So he won't be able to recentre it. I don't think you'll see Steve Clarke in a particularly high-profile job, because I don't think it lends itself to that. I don't think he lends himself to it. We've seen him have little dances with relatively medium-sized clubs inside English football and Scottish football.
Yeah.
He's done a great job for Scotland in certain respects because he's halted the decline, the seemingly managed decline into oblivion of nowhere you didn't qualify for anything. So you've arrested that slump, and that has to be taken into consideration.
Turn the national team round. So there may be a job in Scotland for him, Jim. Let's see what happens. I think there's something. I'm not sure this is his last job. There may be something else there.
I mean, as you know, he spent most of his playing career, almost all of it, in England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there may be, and he's managing England, so there may be a position for him there. So it strikes me that he just wants to take some time out and reflect.
100%.
I don't think he's rewriting history. I don't think he's adapting the narrative to suit the outcomes. I think that what he's probably saying is what he believed, what he was going to do anyway. He probably believes that by signing a new contract with the SFA, if the success of getting through the group stages had manifested itself, he had reasons to continue. At the same time, it gave the players some continuity and stability. And at the same time, if it didn't go the right way, he'd made up his mind that he was going to leave. So I don't think there's anything.
He's always made the right call for the players, and he feels he's doing that now for the future.
Sure. OK. Martin, thanking you. You're away to Talk Boxing, are you not?
I'm here for Talk Boxing, yes.
You're right here to Talk Boxing. Excellent. Coming up next, Jeff Stelling and Perry Groves bring you World Cup Game Day Drive before handing over to Nigel Adderley and Scott Minto, who bring you live commentary of Erling and Norway against Ivory Coast. Kick-off for that one is at 6, so don't go anywhere. Jeff Stelling, and that lovely fellow, Perry Groves, are next. That's it from New York.